Stunthangar Video Hangouts. My name is Charles Carter, and I'll be your host this evening. I want to extend to you my gratitude for you watching Stunthangar Video Hangouts. Now, if you're watching this as a replay, I want you to know that I host these YouTube live streams every Monday and Friday evening starting at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please make a note of this so you can watch or be part of the live stream. Plus, we have an after party following the live stream, which is sometimes better than a live stream portion. You must be a registered Stunthangar Forum member to find the link to be part of the live stream and the following after party. Here at Stunthangar Video Hangouts, we talk about building and flying model airplanes, sport flying, competition flying, and what you've been doing lately. To join our conversation, if you are already a member of Stunthangar Forum, you can find the link if you scroll down to the section called At the Bench, which is right below in memory of our friends. Now, if you're not a member or if you're not logged into Stunthangar Forum, the At the Bench link will not appear. Now, if you're not a member, please register at stunthangar.com/SMF. That's stunthangar.com/SMF. That's Smart Men Flying. Now, when you register, you must use your real first and last name. When you register, you must also use a valid email address or Sparky. The proprietor of Stunthangar will not approve you. Now, if you're already approved and can come in, but you just decide or you're inclined to just watch us instead of coming in live, that's fine. You can add your questions or comments in the chat box over here. I'll do my best to make your comments or questions a part of the show. Now, understand, sometimes even I can't get a word in myself, so be patient, and I will ask our illustrious panel your question or state your comments. And by the way, you only can do this during a live stream. So like I said, I host these YouTube live streams every Monday and Friday at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Pardon me. Now, if you find, this is the first time this has ever happened. Excuse me, if you find the Stunthangar Video Hangouts that I host or the many building videos that Sparky does on this platform informative and enjoyable, please hit the thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please consider sharing the videos, commenting on the videos. All these engagements help the Stunthangar YouTube channel grow. Please consider joining the stunt or becoming a member of our YouTube memberships, which started just $4.99 a month, which is less than 17 cents a day. And by the way, I'm a member. I have the $4.99 come out of my own checking account, which I don't have to do that, but I want to partner up with you. Hopefully we can support this hobby that we love. And it's one way to do it, just one person at a time. And it's just like 17 cents a day. And we have two other tiers above that. And to me, it's an incredible deal. That's why I do it, because I see the value. And even though, of course, I'm biased, but I mean, we have people that have 70 years experience building and flying model airplanes. So especially if you're struggling or if you are just beginning, why not stand on the shoulders of giants instead of trying to reinvent the wheel? So please support us. There's a lot of talent that comes in here, a lot more talented than I am, and they know a lot more than I do. So that's why I do this show, to learn myself, and you can come in here and learn as well. Anyways, this is Sparky's YouTube channel. So if you want to get in touch with me, you need to go to my YouTube channel, which is called Flying Control Line Stunt. Let me repeat that. That's Flying Control Line Stunt. If you locate the 2019 AMA National Championship video, which is a video that Sparky shot with his video camera of me flying his beautiful and light Junar XL. I mean, back then it was orange, and it was kind of like a bucket list there for me to be at the Nats and then also having a beautiful plane to fly. So check it out. You can see how I fly and go ahead and critique, make some comments. I'd appreciate engagement on my YouTube channel as well. Now, getting back to memberships, when you join our Stunthangar YouTube channel memberships, you actually get access to member-only videos. You see, not all the videos are posted up. Some of them are private. I know some of the videos I've hosted, a few of them are member only, and then Sparky has some other videos that are member only. So you're going to get something in return. Plus, we see who are supporting patrons in the chat. They have a There's a moniker next to their name. We can tell those who are supporting patrons. And believe me, I like everyone, but I really appreciate those that are partnering up with me to support this channel. So, anyways, I want to thank you for your past, your present, and future support. You are making it happen. Please keep the conversations family and friendly. In other words, please don't use words or do things you wouldn't say or do around your own children or grandchildren. And without any further ado, I'm now going to post a link at the Stunthangar forum. And looks like I got Mike Estelle in here before I get started. That's great. Let me get going here. Let me see here. I post that link and Mike got in. Great. So here we go. Okay, the link is posted at Stunthangar forum. So please check out the link. There's also a link to the Paul Walker's trim flow chart. We're going to be talking about that later on. And I'm hoping that Paul Walker will join us. I spoke to him yesterday, and hoping nothing got in the way of that. Let me see here. Just give me a second here. I need to go to what I call the control panel. I see that we are streaming. Let me get into the what I call the control panel and set some things up so I can keep an eye on what's going on. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hi, Charles.
And Steve, thanks for coming in. And Bob, I see you making your way here. Just give me a few minutes here to do my thing here. Get this show rolling. And I just have a few more things I need to do. Just bear with me. Let's see here. And I see in the chat box we have quite a few people already there. That is always encouraging. That's great. Appreciate that. Let's see here. A couple more clicks. And then you have my undivided attention. And then I'll start with the chat box. All right, great. So we have Gary Sinclair, who's a monitor, one of our monitors. I know Greg Biswick is a monitor on our channel as well. But Gary Sinclair is a member of our YouTube channel. He says, good evening, everyone. Like provided. Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate that. Edward Callall, he says, like sent. Thank you, Edward. An old control line pilot who's also a member of our YouTube channel. He said, like given. I'll join you for it in a bit. And then Marcel Legrand, he says, hi, Charles and everyone at Stunt School. Time to learn some more. Absolutely. And Dennis Adamison, who's also a member of our YouTube channel. He said, like delivered, we'll join you soon. There we go. Now we're off to the races. And I see Mike Costelli came in first. Thank you, Mike, for coming in. I appreciate it. How you doing?
Good, good.
What you been up to?
I finally got test flights on my Hawker Hunter. I converted from glow power to electric power.
Oh, great.
So
what do you think?
It flies. I got a lot of trimming to do. I got a lot to learn about ion batteries.
Oh, you got the ion. Very good. I hope to, I bought some ion cells almost a year ago, I think, and I haven't even started to put them together. So you built your own batteries, or did you have someone build them for you?
I had to build them myself because I had to make them like a six pack of beer.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Most guys are making them like the log load on a Lionel flat car.
Right.
You know, three logs in a triangular fashion.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and most people do it that way. But this particular airplane, the Whiteley's Hawker Hunter design, is like an arrow. The fuselage is not deep from top to bottom, and the wing is in pretty low, considering the fact that there's not a lot of depth in that fuselage. So to get the battery on the center of gravity and to have enough room in from the leading edge to the nose ring to get everything I needed in there, I had to put the battery as back far as I could. And then I had to use a rear mount for my motor rather than the G10, the G10 mount that a lot of us like to use for a front mounted motor. The motor mounts on that airplane don't go all the way to the nose ring. They only go as far as the mounting lugs on the Tiger 60. So everything in front of that is just balsa blocks.
Yeah.
There's really no meat or nothing kind of, substantial to anchor, a G10 front mount onto. So I made an aluminum motor mount out of T-bar stock, and I wish I knew how to get pictures off of my phone and onto my computer so I could show you. But
I'd be very
uh,
interested myself.
well, there's a lot of
Yeah.
pictures on the. There's some pictures on the Garden State Circle Burners um, group page.
Okay. Well, if you go to the that website, you can share them that way. You can just on a separate tab, just have that there, and then come back here and then hit the share button, and then go back and reselect that, and then you'll be able to bring it in.
Yeah,
I might have made it sound more
I
complicated
guess
than actually it is,
Just
but
hold your
you just
phone up
basically
between.
you have it on your computer basically, and
it
then
was
you
easier
go
to
to
fix the
share.
it was easier to fix the airplane to do what you're telling me, Charles.
Maybe, maybe, and
Is that your plane that's on the Alberta control line site, Mike?
I did put it on Alberta control line. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
it is beautiful. That's the yellow and black checkerboard one, right? Or the yellow and black,
It's
not
camo, but it's
checkerboard, but it's camo. I'm sorry, yeah.
the story behind the real airplane is, well, that airplane's a trainer. It's called Double Victory. And the thing is a side by side configuration for the pilot, or for the trainee and the instructor. So they sit side by side in the cockpit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so the airplane's called Double Victory.
Well, if
And
someone can pull that plane up, that'd be great to see what that was, what he got the idea from, to see that.
yeah, it was in a Swiss. Who's waving there?
Yeah, but I think Dennis is trying to get our attention. Yes, Dennis, and you
I
always sees
have
your
the
head.
Garden State Circle Burner site open, but I'm not sure where to find the photos.
Well, you go down a little bit, I guess.
All right.
I posted it a couple of days ago. It could be some other posts there.
But then
I
meanwhile, I noticed, Mike, that you had some questions about Steve Harris's Hawker Hunter at Las Vegas, because Mike Lonke did a short little video to answer your questions. You was intrigued with the Steve Harris Hawker Hunter, right?
Yeah, well, I had seen pictures of Steve's Hawker Hunter at that contest in California. I forgot what you call that contest.
Oh, it was
And
probably the joust.
yeah, the joust. That's what it was. So I called Lou August and I said, "Hey, did you see that airplane out there?" And he told me that he had seen it. It did work, and he put me in touch with Steve. So I talked to Steve actually, and Steve encouraged me that it could be done and it will work. And he did his a little differently. He's using a 5-cell lipo, and same motor I'm using, 3515 710 kV. And I have used that 5-cell battery, but in a much lighter airplane. Pathfinder's like 56 ounces. So, it's that Hawker Hunter's like 71 ounces. Well, Steve's is the same weight, 71, 72. They're about the same weight, but I don't know. I use a Fioretti timer that's an active timer, and it uses more battery because it's constantly feeding input into the motor to boost the RPMs when you change attitude. And and I wanted to use a 3-blade propeller, and I knew that the power wouldn't reach. The 5-cell won't reach. But if I've used a 6-cell lipo in an SV11, like the SV11 you have, Charles, with a 3-blade propeller, same motor, and I get through the pattern nicely with that. Long story short, I knew I'd never fly this as a glow airplane again, and I thought I'm going to either hang this on the wall, sell it to somebody, or punt. I don't know what else. I'll tear into it. It took way longer than I thought it would. I've converted many other airplanes much quicker, but once I had it open, I wasn't. I was very challenged as to get all that stuff in there, and I still don't know if the battery's going to ventilate sufficiently.
Oh.
they get warm.
Yeah.
And mine's
Yeah.
in a different configuration. So I don't think anybody knows. I know drone pilots use that configuration, but they're probably out in the open air.
Mike, did you
And
post the pictures on the website or did you put it on a Facebook page?
Facebook page.
Can't help you. Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Well,
That's
Mike,
why I can't
let
find
me
them.
introduce some other people that came in. I really appreciate what you're talking about. As I'm actually entertaining, actually making a electric Hawker Hunter for classic, and maybe even use it in Pampa. So I'm very interested in what you're talking about. Let me welcome. I think next came in was I'm trying to remember who came in next. I know Steve Manchella, not Manchella, but Steve, my friend Steve here was why I got Manchella on my name? That's another Steve I know. Hey Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah,
I see you making progress on your on your um on your
yeah,
plane. That's great. And then you're gonna feel so good flying that after such a demise.
yeah. I feel like I'm reliving 1973 today, Charles. I got the silk span out, didn't realize how, and I probably bought it 5 years ago, and the silverfish got into it pretty good. So they didn't touch the Monaco, they just liked the silk span. So I found enough to I use that new stuff called Easy Dope, which has absolutely no smell. And the directions were for tissue, and I just sort of like winged it. I just kind of got the tissue wet. I put on Easy Dope, and it shrank up beautifully. And it's like, wow, this is cool.
Is that bottle handy so you can show us what you're talking about? I've seen it in the stores.
Yeah, it's called Deluxe Materials sells it, and I bought the Easy Dope, I bought the filler, and I bought some sanding sealer, and it's all pretty expensive. A little bottle's like $15, so it added up. It was like, I mean, it had absolutely no smell. My wife is really sensitive to smell. She would have threw me out of my basement even if I got the toluene and the dope stuff going. But
Right.
stuff is really neat, and it sticks good, and it only one thing about it is because it's not dope. The covering it gets loose again with the first coat of dope because it's water based. So, but it shrinks back up, and already tested the Tamiya paint can over it, and it looks like it's going to cover that okay. So it's going to bring my old school silk span control line plane back to life. And
That is great. That is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish I had pictures to show the audience. That did not look good on the ground in pieces. But
Well, the wing kind of broke in half, but you just put it back together, and it's just wood. You just splice in the broken stuff and splice in the leading edge sheeting. The center section sheeting was all wasted, and luckily I had the plans. I had to make one new rib just out of my scrap box and stuff. So satisfying experience. I'm really enjoying it.
that is great. It really is good. Can't wait to see you fly it again.
Yeah. I don't know if I remember how to Monaco. I don't think I haven't Monacoed in a few years either. So what the hell? Let's go back 50 years, never mind 10.
Right.
Times.
Good. Let me I'm getting crowded here. I got chats, I got people, and I appreciate the show. Thank you very much for everybody for coming in. Just be patient with me. I will get to you. I think it was Bob Whitley up in Canada. How you doing, Bob?
Actually, not so good. I had a great Remembrance Day and laid a wreath with a Second World War air gunner veteran. That was nice, and laid the family wreath. But somewhere along the way, somebody gave Kim and I both a case of the nasty COVID.
Oh,
So we've been nuked all week. Today's my birthday, so I spent it laid out on the
happy
couch.
birthday. I'm so sorry to hear you're not feeling good.
And it's perfect weather. You couldn't ask for a better day, really, for flying models here or any kind of flying.
Double whammy.
And I'm looking out the window, just pissed right off because I wanted to go out and do a flight or two. But on the plus side, eventually my pistons and cylinders will be getting here from Brian. So they're sitting somewhere in Australia. They're storing them for me in their post office, I guess, for a bit. And so I've got 2 piston and liner sets for my 60s coming. So that's it made it a little bit brighter of a day for me.
Very good.
But,
I'm sorry you're not feeling good.
But yeah, I've been, so all day today I was feeling guilty. Geez, I want to get up and I want to get up, but I just didn't have the energy to go down to my shop at least. So, but I thought I'd come on, whine a little bit, wish everyone all the best, and see how you are. And I think I'm going to shut down here right away and
All right. Well, yeah,
go
I
back to bed.
understand. I know how you feel. You
I
don't
did
feel very
3 weeks of
motivated to do
that.
anything. So thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, and all the best, everyone. See you
All
later. And I
righty.
think your Thanksgiving's coming up here soon, isn't
It
it?
is.
Yes, next week.
Okay, if I don't see you guys before then, wish you all the best for that.
Thank
Yeah,
you very
thank you.
much, man. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
cheers.
Okay, bye now.
Bye bye, man. Take care. I think Brad Lapointe came in. Hey, Brad, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. I appreciate
Doing
it.
well, thank you, Charles.
All right. What you been up to?
I went out flying yesterday, and last Saturday and Sunday I got out a little bit, and sort of slowing up my building, but that's okay. I'd rather go
Yeah.
flying anytime.
Yeah, if you can go flying. I mean, this time of year, you got to get it. You got to go out and get that when it's this time of year, right?
Yeah, around here for sure.
Yes, yes. So what did you fly?
A Pathfinder mostly, and I don't know, Vector I was sorting out for a guy.
Very good.
Got it sort of going. Hadn't been out of the rafters in about 10 years, so I got it sorted out for him.
Wow, very good. And let me see here. I think Gary came in. I believe. Hey, Gary, thanks for coming in. How you doing?
Pretty good.
All right, now you can talk this time. Don't have
Yeah,
don't have
that's
to be
right.
quiet. You can make noise.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for coming in.
Hey, remember the airplanes? If you're going to send me one.
Yes, yes. Speaking of the calendar, yeah, Gary Sinclair does a fabulous job putting together a calendar. And so if you can submit a picture, and particularly if you have a picture of you holding the plane or flying the plane or something like that, I really like those in the calendar. That'd be greatly appreciated. And if you don't have Gary's contact information, you can PM on the forum. That's Gary Sinclair, or you can PM me, and then I can forward it to Gary.
I need yours too.
You need mine too?
Right. That one that you're flying.
Yes, I will get that to you. I will get that to you. Absolutely. That'd be great for the calendar, I think. All right. And then I'm sorry I messed up the order, you guys. I'm kind of confused a little bit, but let me go with Keith Trossel, and then I'll do Dennis out of Missing. I get back to you, Dennis. I know you did chime in a little bit. Hey Keith, how you doing? Good to see you. Glad you came in.
Yeah, doing good. Got Christmas lights up today, and that's a major accomplishment for your.
Yeah, hey, that's pretty good before Thanksgiving. That's good.
Yeah.
So you've been doing any building or anything?
Nope. Looking at plans. Got some ideas.
All right. I understand that. That's kind of where I'm at too. I'm the Hawker Hunter, and my next SV11, I'm hoping to get together with a gentleman to laser cut some parts, and so I can put that together. Then Keith, Dennis, how you doing, Dennis? Dennis Adamison.
Hanging in there. And we too got our outdoor Christmas lights up this year, and got a sunburn doing it. So
Yeah.
we've had a fabulous Indian summer up here, which sort of unofficially ended today. It's raining, and then starting tomorrow, we're on a ski slope. We'll be in the 30s here in a day or two, and that'll probably be it for the year.
You'll be full steam ahead into building season, huh?
Yeah, I'll get into thinking about my building season. Yes. I'm not sure exactly when I'll be able to make that great leap into actually doing something, but that can't be too far ahead, I guess.
Good. I see you got the popcorn going.
The official snack of Stunthangar, right?
That's right. I got 2 bags of it.
Oh my God, you're planning on staying for the after party, huh?
Okay. That's a good idea. Yeah, I don't have to pick up my daughter tonight, so I can hang around a little bit longer.
All righty.
Let me see here. Mark Gerber. Hey, how you doing, Mark? Thanks for coming in. You making any progress on your Bearcat? Oh, we can't hear you, Mark, for some reason. I saw your lips moving, but we can't hear you. And you're not muted. I don't know, maybe you're not plugged in or connected. You're not muted though. Let me come back to you, and then let me welcome Gordon Delaney. Hey, Gordon, how you doing?
I'm still here.
Good. I'm really happy to hear that. I really am. I mean it. I really mean that.
Yeah,
Hey, Dennis, this is Keith. Dennis, can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Yes. Sorry.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you consulting on this Ken Culbertson's, whatever he calls that triple decker thing, whatever it is?
Not really. He sent me a note and asked a couple of questions about Archie's airplane from what 85 or 86, whatever
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah,
and sent him a couple of things, and that was back before Ken had actually flown it. And as near as I can tell, sounds like Ken's had a pretty good year flying. So haven't heard back, directly from him or anything like that.
not trying to show any disrespect, but he's an expert on everything, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
some of us are ahead of the game,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
He works, as near as I can tell, he works hard. He seems to share a lot of information. Well, whatever. I don't have any problem with that. So
Okay.
I don't know. It's on something like triple canards, he is probably the number one expert in the world right now.
Yeah.
Since he's probably the only one flying one, right? So I don't know. So
Okay.
I think I was talking to Gordon, right? Was I talking to Gordon?
yeah. I was just gonna say I found some dry spots where I oversanded on my Pathfinder, so I had to put a couple more coats of dope with sanding sealer over it, and then I'll sand that lightly, and then I'll spray a base coat, then the color.
Very good. Very good.
I got a tiny bit done.
Now, the sanding sealer, is that your own concoction or do you buy a commercial sanding sealer?
No, I mix my own. Well, I use the zinc stearate that Randy Smith sells,
Okay.
and I mix that in clear dope, and then I add a little color to it, so I can see when to stop sanding.
Very cool. So after you put that sanding sealer on, then you put the clear dope on again after on top of that?
No, nope, I'll just slightly sand it out flat, because I brushed it on, and then I'll go back and just shoot a base coat over the whole fuselage, and then spray my yellow on.
Thanks for clarifying that for me. I haven't really used sanding sealer very much. It's been such a long time since I've even used dope on an airplane. I remember buying that Aerogloss dope. I buy the Aerogloss dope and Aerogloss sealing sander and Aerogloss. There was one other step, if I remember correctly.
balsa filler coat, probably.
Balsa filler coat and all that stuff. But since that stuff became unavailable, I kind of went away from sanding sealer just because of watching Wendy Yanowski videos. He didn't seem to use, if I remember correctly, I don't think he was using that. So I just kind of went away from it.
So what do you do on your fuselage? You monocoat the wings, or do you monocoat the fuselage?
I'm gonna monocoat the wings and paint the fuselage. Just it's been such a long time. I'm gonna have to recall you and others to refresh my memory how to do it. I spend more time flying than building, a lot more time flying than building, significantly so.
That's a happy place, Charles.
Yeah, but you don't get appearance points doing that. So
you can use talcum powder, unsanded talcum powder,
right,
and mix that in your clear dope.
Yep.
And stir it up good, and brush a couple coats on. After you probably should have about 5 coats of clear on the fuselage by itself. Just lightly sanded, and then go ahead and put your I like to put 2 coats of sanding sealer on, then I get more aggressive and sand it out.
So do you tissue your fuselage?
Yes, I do.
So you tissue the fuselage and then you still do all that sanding sealer and all that on top of the tissue
Well, I put
or underneath the tissue?
2 coats of dope on the dry wood. Then I put silk span on top of that. Then I put like 3 or 4 coats of just lightly sand any bumps off. And then I like to put, maybe 5 coats, 6 coats clear, put my sanding sealer on with the color in it. And then I sand it all the way back to the clear again. That way you're not just adding weight.
I see.
Well, on mine, I got too aggressive on a couple of the edges where the fuselage is round on that profile, and realized, I got feeling it. And most of it felt really good, but a couple spots on there, they felt like I was back into the wood. So I had to back up a little bit.
Right. That's part of the hobby.
Yep.
You take a couple steps forward and you have to take a couple steps back and just keep going back and forth. So you go, that's good enough.
Yep.
I think Spark says no finish is ever, or someone said, finish is never finished. It's just abandoned.
Yeah. Randy Powell.
I've got
Randy Powell said that? Okay, thank you.
I got an airplane like that now. My Heinz 57 has been abandoned.
Right. Let me see here. Let me welcome Ed. How you doing, Ed? You're muted, but thanks for coming in, Ed. It's been a while since you've been in. And then I'll get to you, Mark.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
I
Can you hear me, Charles?
I can hear you.
Okay, I had a little bit of trouble coming in, so I was curious about that. Getting in properly. So yeah, good. I've been listening. Good seeing everybody. Happy Thanksgiving in a little bit in advance. And I've been doing shop cleanup. We're pretty busy at work. One of our customers asked us to do a lot of stuff before the high flying season, which starts holiday season, which starts next week. So I've been helping out my guys, and they've been working 12 hours a day for the last 3 weeks.
Wow.
And so they're all going to take next week off, and they're going to do their hunting and stuff. But for me, I picked up at Brodax from Brendan. You can go ahead and make me bigger.
Oh, a Nobler ARF,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's an ARF. And I did a conversion.
I see.
Made a firewall and stuff, and took all the holes and filled them all back up out of the cowling.
Wow.
So it's just a matter now of a spinner, and I've got everything in to finish it.
Very good. Very good.
It's hard to pass up. And it had a brand new Brodax 40 on it.
Oh, good motor. Very good.
Yeah. So want to get things ready. In West Virginia, it's not uncommon to have times of being able to fly basically almost throughout the year, except maybe January. I mean, many years ago, I played golf in December and stuff, and so it's not uncommon. But the Indian summer, just like for Indiana, there it happened to us. So it's getting colder out there now and raining and that. But just wanted to. It's really good to listen in and be in on this. And one of the things I wanted to say that I really appreciate is everybody here is a builder and a flyer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of rare.
Right.
And that, so I'm just really thrilled to just listen in regards to the building portion, and of course in the future the flying portions and that. So really looking forward to it, and plan to be at Brodax next year.
Oh, great.
Again, yep. And we'll see how it goes. I would like to participate. It just depends on how far I get between now and then.
Right.
And that, but I just wanted to see everybody be here in person. Been kind of hard with the work schedule.
Yeah, 12 hours a day. It sounds like it'd be very tough to find energy to hang in here.
Well, the customer asked us, and they're a good customer, and the guys are all for it because they're big hunters, and they're thrilled to know that they have time off. Whereas normally the holidays are our busiest because nobody else wants to work and stuff. Yeah, so we're able to do it this year for a change. But yeah, all the best to everybody, and good seeing the faces and listening to everybody, and appreciate everything that you do there, Charles, and everybody else. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hey, Charles, could I add something to Ed's commentary?
Sure, go ahead.
Ed and I are good friends. I think we'll still be good friends, but I just want everyone to know that during these hard weeks when these guys have been working all these shifts, his wife posted a picture of him on Facebook sleeping.
Yeah, I had to get my cat nap.
Okay. I'm sure it was a deserved sleep, and you're a good man, my friend.
Thank you. So are you. And
go ahead.
It's I was just gonna say it's just a pleasure, like I said, to talk and interface with everybody, and that.
You too, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get Howard Rush. Howard came in early, and I didn't acknowledge him. Howard, because your screen is vertical, you're small, and everybody else is so much bigger. I focused on them. There we go. All right, now you're as big as everybody else.
Well, I hope so.
Are you kidding, Charles? He's a giant. He's a giant among us. So
he is.
Yeah.
So what's been happening with you? Have you had a chance to do any building? I know you was working on your shop.
Well, last night I got a hold of Win Paul's books and stayed up till 3 o'clock. And so I saw a lot of pictures of guys on here.
Wow.
Back when they had hair, and it was impressive. And Charles, I got a little tip from the Jive Combat team for you.
All right, let me write my pencil here. Let me write down.
Asking about balsa filler and stuff like that. Look, while you're on flying lines, looking at the Walker stuff, look for Granderson on finishing.
Right. Yeah, I've read that.
That'll fix you up. That's how to do
it. I have read that article, and it's a great article on finishing. I definitely would pay attention to that article. Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
So you haven't been doing any flying on Circle 1, I gather, huh?
No.
It's okay. I didn't fly at all this week. I can't believe I went out today, and by the time I got there, the wind was up. But I meant to get out there earlier, and so it happened to me this week. I didn't put up one flight. I can't. It's hard to believe. But I did go out there, and I actually tested my new camera, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it films my plane when it's doing the maneuvers. So hopefully next week, and hopefully Steve might be ready by next week, and he can join me. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, Charles, what kind of camera did you get?
It's a GoPro.
Oh,
the GoPro, the new one, the Hero 12, and I got the it's the Mod 2.0 lens. It's a really wide, extra wide angle lens. So yeah, I have a good camera now. They still sell it. I saw the camera. It's a Sony HD-405. It's still in Best Buy still sells it. It's a lot less than when I paid for it, but when I use that, I have to be so far back to get everything that I'm pretty small and the plane is tiny. I can see what the plane does, but I just want I want a closer image. So that's why I've done that. So
yeah, the camera's not going to make you any bigger, Charles, and I'm sorry to.
Yeah, I just have to get in the field and get bigger, I guess. So anyways, I think I left off. I think I didn't get to Mark and then Jonathan and then Mark Gerber. You got your mic working, Mike? I mean, Mark.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Yeah, I didn't have the plug quite all the way in. So
tell me about what's going on with you?
So I've been working on my Bearcat a little bit, waiting on the wing ribs to come back from the laser cutter. So the Bearcat uses these Robart steel pinch hinges on
Right.
all the surfaces.
Right. Looks.
That's what they look like. They're 1/8 of an inch in hole diameter here.
Right.
With a little pin. And you have to recess the trailing edge so you can have the hinge. This is all Keith Throssel's technique that he used on his Bearcat that he passed on to me.
Very
so I'm
nice.
working right now is on the trailing edge here. And it's about 9/16 high by 3/8 inch wide. And I mill it out on my router table. And so here's the trailing edge there. And you see the first thing you need to do is put the holes in it for the hinges. So here's the pieces of wood I used. It's about 6-7 pound balsa. And first thing I do is shave them down on my sander to get the right dimensions. And then I set up a jig in my drill press and drill the holes.
Excellent.
That way I get them on center. Robart also makes a little tool you can use. I think that's what Keith used to center them, but I prefer to do it on the drill press because I can get them all the same that way.
Very good.
There's the holes. Here's the slot that I milled in the back to put a little 1/8 by 16th in. That provides a nice key to align the ribs with the trailing edge.
All right.
And then I mill out the concave part of the trailing edge with a 5/8 inch router bit. And it only goes in about 80 thousandths. You don't have to go in very far, but you do need to get that little concave part. And then the angled edges are about 18 degrees. I have a bit that cuts off an 18-degree slope.
Wow.
And I run it through with that. And so this is what you get when you're done.
Very
Mark,
nice.
Mark, I'm going to send you a pile of wood and you send it back to me like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then where the two spars come together, the Bearcat has swept forward trailing edge on the flaps. So this angle here on the top is the swept forward part of the trailing edge. And then there's dihedral on each panel. So this angle here is where that 16th inch piece of balsa slides in and indexes the back of the spar. And then this center piece is where the two spars come together. So I'm moving ahead, making some pieces. I should be getting the laser cut ribs sometime next week. Then I can put it all in the jig and start putting things together. It'll be something to look at. So
I don't know about that kind of fixturing. About all you need to do is toss a bottle of CA in the box and shake it a few times, and out would pop a perfect wing. My gosh.
Well, actually, that's it seems like the whole approach on this thing is you spend about 90% of your time setting everything up, and then about 10% of the time just assembling it and gluing it together.
Yeah, but it's already trued and everything else, so that's fabulous.
And I think with the lost foam technique, I've already got the cradle for the wing. So as soon as I get the ribs, I can just drop all this stuff in there.
The timing to do, or the amount of time to do the first one versus this one, has to be one heck of a savings now for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's what kind of flipped me over to go ahead and build a new one. Was I've got all the jigs and fixtures and know-how. And a lot of leftover wood.
What kind of router you actually use? Because like I have like nightmares of feeding in wood and getting out nothing when the router just
I've got it's a Sears router table. I don't have a picture of it, but
router table, okay.
And I don't use the backing part of the router that they have. I just take a piece of wood, like a 1 by, it's about, I don't know, it's about a 3/4 by 1 inch piece of wood. It's straight, and I clamp it on both ends, and that's my thing I route against.
Okay.
And I can very precisely move it in and out by just turning, loosening one clamp and moving a little bit, and then run a test piece through and check the dimensions. And
So is that like what does the bit look like that made that shape? Was it like a regular 1/4 inch shank?
which shape?
What?
The shank on the bit.
The shank on the bit?
Yeah, it's a 1/4 inch. It's a Bosch router.
Okay.
The best thing about it is it has a real fine adjustment for the height, for the depth. So you can adjust the height that the bit's sticking up above the table very precisely by just turning that knob a little bit. So again, you just put a test piece on there and try it out and see, measure it and see where you come out.
Okay. Yeah, I actually do have one of those. I just never thought about it for hobby use. I was thinking more in terms of like a Dremel or something I have a couple Dremel drill presses you could sort of jig up and do that
I
with.
never use my router outside of the table. It's always in the table whenever I use it for something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I have one in the table, and I have a nasty Porter cable. That's the one I wouldn't even think about doing any of the balsa wood with that.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good for balsa.
Oh, it's good for balsa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good cutter. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I was doing this week. So.
Hey, Mark, thank you so much for those pictures. It really, I think, adds to our understanding what you've been doing. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So what button do you push? Share screen?
Yeah. On in this bottom center, it's a green button, says share screen.
Let me see what happens.
All right, let's see what happens. And after you do that, you have to reselect what you want to show.
Oh, okay.
A little gallery should populate, and then you just pick the one you want to share.
Okay, so I picked the one I wanted to share, and it's a slideshow. I think it could be a slideshow. Oh, okay. Now I got to push the share button. Oh, here you go.
Yeah, you're doing it, Mark. I mean, Mike, excuse me.
Okay.
All right. Excellent.
So there's the inside of the Hawker Hunter.
Very nice.
Charles, if you're going to build one of these, I'm not so sure this is the way to go, but this is the way to convert a gas-powered version. There is the aluminum mount.
Can you make it bigger? Go up to that plus sign up there by the 83% and make it bigger for us. Right up a bit higher to your straight up.
Wait a minute. You are sharing screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that next to the 83%, that plus sign. You click on that.
I'm looking for the plus sign.
Yeah, the little magnifying glass.
Look at that beautiful plane. Wow.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, you inadvertently advanced it, but that's all right.
This picture's from Ruggiero Fioretti's website. This is the idea I got for the mount. Right here is the aluminum mount. His is a little less beefy than mine, and he's got it slotted so he can slide the motor back and forth to get a perfect spinner. Let me see.
I like that idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea, I guess. I'm looking for this. I'm not seeing the magnifying glass.
That's okay. I mean, this image here is at 100%, and the other one was at 83%. So
all right,
you might have to go back to the original picture, outside of it, and expand it there. But anyhow.
Yeah, let's see. Where do I do that? Well, anyway, let's do it this way.
Let's do it this way. That's fine.
Yes.
So there it is, before and this is the cowling. After I redid it, I filled in the spot where the engine cylinder was, and I made a spot. All of my electric airplanes have a a hole in the bottom where the the heat sink lives. And this is the exit, the air exit for this battery that I built. There's 3 cells across and then another row underneath. And so I've got a vented spinner, and then the mounts are about halfway between the top and bottom of the fuselage, and then so air comes in underneath the mounts and over the mounts and over these plates that hold these other parts in, and then it exits through a space in the back. There's a baffle that directs the air, forces the air upward towards the bottom of the battery, I hope. That's the plan anyway. Here's what it looked like when I started.
Right.
And that's when I took the cowl off, what I was dealing with. And I guess that's all the pictures. I have other pictures, but those are the only ones I could transfer from my phone to.
That's fine. That's a good image of your Hawker Hunter.
Yeah, and here's an idea I got from David Chang, and others have used it. But I found these spark arrestor bullet connectors on Esprit, the Esprit website, where I buy the Jetty ESCs. This airplane has an ice light. I use the ice light in this airplane because it's quite a bit lighter than a Jetty. And that's what Steve Harris is using in his airplane. So as long as I can get away with the lighter ESC, I'll use the lighter ESC. But this is a really cool disconnect. Those Max disconnects are heavy. There's a lot of wires, and I've had a couple of failures with the plugs. So there's a wire that breaks the positive side of the ESC. And this is, I think, a 6mm bullet connector.
Right.
Yeah. And then this is a spark arrestor jack for the plug to go in, and it's neat. You just push the plug in. The thing is armed. You push the button on the other buttons on the other side, and off you go. So.
Yeah, I like the idea of the spark arresting connector. I've never heard of that. It's the Esprit.
Esprit, yeah.
Okay.
I forgot what they call it exactly. I don't know if it's 4mm or 6mm, but I think it might be 4.
It looks
anyway,
like it might be 4 there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 4 actually.
How many cells? Just 6S?
That's a 6S ion pack. And
I think Brent Williams might have packs in that configuration.
Brent made some?
He was making end caps, I know, that were like that.
Well, when I was trying to figure out how to make these packs, I went online and I'm looking at YouTube, and here's Dane Martin. And he's making 6 packs like mine for drones with the same cells, 18650s. I think he's using Molly cells. I couldn't find Molly cells; they were out of stock, so I used this as Epic, and they were on sale, so I got a good deal on those.
Yeah, I hope Brent is tagging along here. He watches us on YouTube sometime. Maybe he can chime in and share some stuff. But
I'd say that to me, 6S doesn't require an anti-sparking plug. It's only 6S. What you got to watch out for is those 12 and 14S's. Those need it. But
well, they certainly do. But even the 6S, that's a pretty good pop when you go to plug it in plain. It'll get your attention. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I've had, I've gotten, just startled by the spark occasionally.
Get used to it.
Especially when it's full.
The spark is within the connector anyway when you plug it in, so you're not seeing it. So,
there's an easy way around that, right?
Huh?
Well,
There's an easy way around all that arcing. You put a little resistor between the good lands. When you put your wire in, you're just connecting either the hot side or the negative side, one or the other. And you put a resistor from the other side of where it's, oh, I don't know how to say it. Anyway, the other side of where it's connected inside the plank. Whoops, where'd everybody go?
We're still here. We're fine.
Okay, the resistor comes across and you push a button on the outside of the plane and it runs the power through the resistor, which runs over to the other side and charges the capacitor in the ESC.
Right.
And as soon as that's charged up, you'll hear the initialization sound. Then you can plug your wire in, no arc.
Yeah.
It's on Igor Berger's site. He shows how to do it.
There's a potential problem with that, as I remember. If you have an ESC that automatically determines the number of cells, it could miscount the number of cells.
I've heard it can, but I've used his, and now I've used the badass, and I haven't had a failure yet. Haven't had a problem yet. If as long as you hold it and hold it all the way in until it initializes, you're all right. Now, if you cut it off short, I don't know.
Well, if the resistor is too big, it might.
Oh yeah, he shows the value of the resistor, and I should know it as electronic tech. I should know it, but I can't. I have no memory anymore, and I just can't remember what it is.
Forget all these parameter numbers at our age.
50,
Yeah,
100.
I have to have it written down.
The Jedi sparks less than the Castle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's
much less
big enough, but I don't bother with the Jedi.
You don't do the Jedi anymore?
I don't bother with the spark arrestor with the Jedi.
Well, I didn't until I had it arc so many times. Every time it arcs, it puts a carbon trace on the connector where you plug it in.
Yeah,
and I finally
every year or so.
Well, I hadn't flown it a year though. I don't have 212 flights on it now. So it's anyway, long story short, I only had about 80 flights on it, but it was arcing pretty good every time I plugged it in. And I've had a failure. So I went ahead and put Igor's system in, the little resistor and a button. Everybody says, well, you got an extra button on your plane. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
if they'll ever ask me what it is, I'll explain it. But I don't like the looks of it either, but it works. And you charge it up, and I've got many more flights on it since then, and I have not had any problems with carbon trace. Haven't had to replace anything. Now I do once in a while go in there and check it and clean it, but you don't have to do near as much. It just doesn't blacken up like it did before.
All right. Let me get to Mark Wise. Did you get a chance to tell me what you've been up to, Mark?
Sure. It's good to see all you guys.
Good to see you too.
You too, Mark.
Phil, I don't have problems with the sparking because I use rundown batteries. It solves the whole problem.
Oh, Mark, I've seen your airplane. Ain't nothing run down about that airplane.
No.
Anytime you get tired of it, I'll make room for it in my shop.
All right. Just a couple of things, hopefully noteworthy. I'm looking forward to, I think it's a combined Middlesex and who's that other group, Mike? I can't remember.
The former Garden State Circle Burners, all four of us.
Yes, that's it. Oh, something happened just here. Anyway, tomorrow starts I do this every year, which is a very interesting activity. I inventory my shop.
Ooh.
And yeah, I don't do nuts and bolts and things like that, but I do things that might stop me in the middle of building an airplane or something. And I always discover two things. I don't have what I thought I did, and I have what I didn't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a good time for that because I'm packing up the car with some. I don't like to bring junky things to a swap shop. I kind of try to bring good things, and that's what I'm going to do Sunday. I got some really good sets of Bob Hunt cores, sheeting, So anyway, I'm going to bring that stuff, and then decide how I'm going to approach my flying season next year. I do want to just share, hopefully be interesting with you guys. I got a call about 3 or 4 days ago from a Delaware RC club member. I used to be, well, I was president of that club a couple of times. They do warbirds over Delaware. And he said, "Did you know that so-and-so died?" I said, "No, I didn't know that." I said, "Oh my God, that's terrible." He said, "Well, I'm at his house and he has some control line stuff, even though he's an RC flyer now. And you know his wife," I do, and said, she'd appreciate if you could come over and take what you want. And she's got a great attitude. She said, "I don't want money for it. I just want to know that it's going into someone's hands who's going to use it."
Nice.
So I went over, I got, to be nice to her, I picked up 3 or 4 airplanes that are all notable, but they're old. They need some work, but one has a Johnson on it, and one has a Fox, and one has something else on it. And 4 kits, fairly old, but I have to just look and see what's going on inside of them. But she said, "Do you want to see the rest of my husband's stuff?" Now, what happened? He died of just a terrible illness. It's kind of like an ALS progression, unfortunately. But his idea when he retired was to work the eBay and just buy a lot of stuff, keep it new in the box, and sell it on eBay. Well, he died. So he has 200 plastic model airplane kits new in the box.
Wow.
Maybe 150 cars new in the box.
Wow.
And just, it made me smile because, I mean, he's a modeler,
Yeah.
and everything in his shop. So I'm just trying to help her out. I'm going to bring, if I may bring some of the stuff Sunday and see if anyone's interested. Whatever I get up, of course, I'm going to give back to her. But at least it's nice that people know I'm a control line guy, even though I was president of an RC club. You get those calls, and if I can put these stuff in someone's hands who's not going to just sell it on eBay, I think that's a good move, and it's in his memory. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm proud of it.
Good for you.
That's great stuff.
Good work.
Sounds good. Mark, did anybody chance have any? Did he have any sailplane stuff?
No. She has a pickup truck that is full of RC airplane kits. Full.
Wow.
Wow.
It's got to be 5 feet high with a bed of what? 4x6, 5x6. And I told her to be careful because she's going to get lowballed. I know some of the guys. And they're just going to put her on eBay and make money, and at least give her what's fair. She's charging 60% of what eBay is getting for all of these kits, which is pretty fair. Yeah, it's pretty nice of her. So that's what I did today, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and getting in the basement and getting the inventory and getting a couple planes ready. I got a couple real close. So even though the Worlds and the Nats and Prodac is coming, I really want to get some airplanes out of the basement into the air. And until that happens, a friend of mine is helping me with a video which shows me flying a control line plane from inside the circle, but on the end of the lines is Paul Walker's airplane. See, in that way, people won't have to bust on me about, "We've never seen you fly." So I'm just kidding about that, but I thought it was a good thought.
That's a good thought. It's a good wish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all dream. Dreams don't cost anything. We all can dream.
There you go.
Hey, Mark, what was that Johnson? It was a Combat Johnson? Stunt Johnson?
I'll tell you what, Gordon, I was going to do this anyway. I'm going to go out into my garage and pull some of these things in here. And I'll show you what it is.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
I got Johnson. Gordy, be a second.
All right. So I think I haven't given Jonathan Carradas a chance to talk to us about what's going on with you. What's going on, Jonathan?
Oh, g'day, Charles. It was raining this weekend,
today's Saturday and it's pouring. It's going to rain again tomorrow. So there'll be no flying this weekend. We flew through the week. Gerald came down and had brought Otto with him, one of his sons, and we had a quick fly after he'd done one of his exams. And I went to maiden the Spitfire, and at the last minute I said to Charles, look, if this thing comes in on me, I wasn't sure about the line tension, never flown it. I won't be able to get out of the way. Do you mind flying it first? So he flew it. He got it in the air and he did a maiden flight and he was quite happy with it. And took a couple of photos. I'll try and pick them out in a minute. I was getting organised to fly and the heavens opened and down it came. So we had to pack up and leave. So that was a bit of a bugger, but never mind. And the week before that, I'd flown a couple of times, flew the repaired Fokker Wolf 190, and it goes real good now. It flew well before, but it flies even better now. And it's not very often you smash a plane up and it flies better the second time round. But I think it's the controls. I've recalibrated them, and it's made quite a difference. So that's good. And I'll see if I can pull up some photos.
I've seen it on Control Line Flying New Zealand there, John.
Oh, the Spitfire?
Sitting on your car.
Oh, yeah, putting it together. Yeah. Well, why stand when you can sit? Why sit when you can lie down? Hang on a minute. Give it a flip.
That was my thoughts on the service. Why walk?
While you're doing that, let me catch up on the chat box. Philip Bailey delivered us with a like. Thank you, Philip. Appreciate that. And then Daniel Barry Sports Highlights says, hey. And then John Skukalek, who's also a member of our YouTube channel, he says, has Mark Gerber decided whether he will rebuild his other Bearcat? Have you decided to rebuild the other Bearcat, or are you just going to abandon that completely, Mark?
No, I'm not going to rebuild the one I crashed. I'm going to build a new one. That's what I'm working on.
And then we have Ruben McBride. He says, and he's also a member of our YouTube channel. Thank you for your support, you guys. And he says, happy Thanksgiving, and like delivered. And then Mark Lumen, who's also a member of our YouTube channel, he says, got you liked. Thank you, Mark. And then Joe B. Kresnak, I don't think I've seen his name before. Thank you for coming in. He says, got it. So I'm all caught up on the chat box. And I invited Paul Walker to come in. And Paul, I give everybody a chance to talk about what they've been doing. And then once we get done, we can go into the trim flow chart, okay? Hope you have time to hang around for us to do that. So Stuart Morrison, what's going on with you? What you been up to?
Oh, not much. Just for me, I've just been working in my shop, trying to get things set up, but it's coming. So other than that, no flying. So just keep working away.
And once you get that shop and your wiring and all set up, because just getting that new space, it's going to be a good thing. So it's going to be worthwhile once you get done. It just takes longer than you anticipate, you know.
Having the 2 benches alone will be well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jonathan, you got to bring up your picture, and then you go down to the bottom of the screen, hit share screen. Then you
I'm trying to find share screen. It won't come up with share screen for some reason. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Well, you keep working on it. I'll get to Caffeine, and then I'll do John Miller. Caffeine, how you doing?
I'll keep messing with this anyway.
Hey, Caffeine, how you doing, Caffeine? You trying to find the microphone? There we go.
Yep. I'm doing good, but not much to do for this weekend. I will fly tomorrow. I will actually test my studs because I made some modification on my studs. I will try. I will try that again tomorrow. Not much with the airplane trimming since it's all good now. So yeah.
Good. Well, we're gonna be talking about trim, the trim flow chart tonight. Last week we talked about getting the wings level, and now we're gonna be on criteria 2. So hopefully you'll pick up some stuff during this trim chart discussion. And then John Miller, did John go away? I saw him a moment ago. Where's John at? I don't see John any
He's
longer.
probably got connection issues again. So
Okay.
Get pizza.
Maybe he's getting that Red Baron pizza going. So then
he may have had to go feed the reindeer.
Maybe. So then you're up next, Paul. What you been up to, Paul? If you want to talk about what you've been doing and what you've been up to.
What I've been doing, I've been building a carport.
Okay.
to store my canopy for my truck, so that I can store that and then put the fifth wheel hitch in it when I use it for the trailer. And it's part of why I'm a little late here. Is I kind of was busy and kind of got a little tired, so I sat down in the chair, and next thing you know, I look up and oh crap.
No, I try. It's worse when I do that.
Yeah. So
no problem.
Yeah, actually, the other thing I've been working on is I'm restoring an airplane.
Oh, cool.
A guy we used to fly with years and years ago, he built this airplane to take to the Nats, and he had so much detail on it. He didn't quite get it all done, so it became his backup airplane. But he took that to the 68 Nats.
Wow.
And then he flew it. And once he got it finished, he flew it some after that. And he said, well, it wasn't my best airplane. But he hung it on the ceiling in his workshop. And every time I go to see him, I'd see it sitting there. I think, wow, okay, that's a cool airplane. I remember seeing it fly. And he's getting so old that he can't fly anymore and he can hardly build. So he's getting rid of all of his equipment. So I asked about that airplane. He says, boom, here, let's get it down right now. It's yours. So I am in the process of rebuilding it. It's 55 years old.
Wow.
So it needed a few parts. And
yeah, sure.
So I immediately went in. Yeah, you can wiggle the controls and they all worked. But I went in and I opened the whole bottom up, and I took the belt crank out, removed the lead outs. One of the cables that went around the belt crank was frayed and broken, but it still had the little hook, and that was all that was holding it in.
Wow.
So I had to put a new belt crank in. And this is a full up, heavily built stunt plane. There's a lot of plywood in the root of this airplane for whatever reason. That's all gone now. And new belt crank, new push rod, new horns. The list goes on. All the controls are warped, surfaces are warped. I have to replace those. But what's amazing about the whole thing is it's 55 years old, and I'm saving virtually 2/3 of the covering on the wing and not replacing it. I'm replacing things that are clearly broken, rips and tears and stuff. It is an amazing condition. I had tested it. I have pushed on it. I've tapped it hard, and it doesn't give. It doesn't break. It doesn't crack.
That is amazing.
It's staying on there. So, but the wingtips, they were all sheeted and little ribs, and all the covering on that was broken and warped. So I started by taking that off, and then the whole structure was warped. I just cut the whole tips off and put blocks on there, sanded that all up. So I've been working on that, and it's like every time you take a step forward, you end up taking a step backwards.
Right.
It's like when you're going to go restore a car, you say, well, I'm not going to tear it all down. I'm just going to go fix this, and that's going to be good enough. And you do that, and you say, well, but I found this, and I really should fix it. And next thing you know, you might as well have torn the car down.
Yeah.
Right.
This airplane is the same way. Every time I turn around, I had all the control surfaces finished, stick them on, and level the flaps, and the elevators are hanging down. So that's odd. I don't remember it being that way. And I took things apart and checked it, put it back together, and stuck it on. The next thing you know, the elevators are sticking up. How can this be?
Yeah, what's going on?
I finally ended up cutting a big hole in the side of the fuselage back there by the horn, and put a pair of pliers on the upright, and then wiggled the wire.
Right.
He had built it with a solder joint in there, and the solder joint had failed.
Oh, well, you found out now.
But, so cut that out and replace it with another, the stab was in crooked. It was, the parallelness of the hinge lines. It was a 1/4 inch off from tip to tip, which is really bad. And it was in the wrong way. He warned me that, boy, it just doesn't do very good bottoms on the triangles and the hourglass. And as I took all the pieces out and replaced them, I understood why. There was push rods that had bends in 2 different axes in it. They had no hope of having any stiffness and compression, but he flew it. And so I've tried to save as much on it as I can. I have now totally stripped the fuselage down. There was no saving it. Matching color would have been a problem. Every time you do a little fix here and a fix there with 55-year-old clear on it, you weren't going to match. So the fuselage is gone. Easy enough to replace the ink lines and stuff he did on that. So it's progressing. So that's been one of my projects. Yeah, I worked on the B-17 a little bit. I found out that it does work. I need to build a bigger battery. Weather is tough for flying here right now. I mean, I'm outside. I started working. I was putting shingles on that carport today.
Right.
When I started, it was 28 degrees.
Whoa!
I'm out there putting shingles on and hammering nails at 28 degrees. So if I didn't do it now, I wasn't going to get done because weather's coming in over the weekend, and I wanted it up so that if it rains on it, it's not going to hurt anything.
Right.
So I spent all day hammering nails and got it done just in time. And anyway, so that's what I've been doing mostly, is other than model airplane stuff, mostly.
Sounds like you've been staying busy.
Yeah, but now that carport's done. I'm done.
There you go.
Done with that, and I can
Hey,
concentrate
Paul?
on my airplanes now. Yeah.
Hey, Paul, this is normally just for experienced flyers.
All right, sorry. All right, I'll be leaving you now. Thanks for that.
Sit yourself back down there. Lord have mercy.
Remember who hasn't made it out to the WSR yet,
Yeah.
Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, Paul, Gordon,
Yeah.
Just want to say hi to you. Haven't seen you for a few years.
Hey, Gordo, how you doing?
Well, it could be better.
Yeah, well,
but I'm still vertical.
Yeah, as long as we can walk vertically, we're good.
That's it.
That airplane you're working on have a name?
It is called Ranger 3.
Ranger 3.
Yeah, that's old Joe Dill's. I don't know. He must have had a 1 and 2. I don't know. But it's Ranger 3. And on it, he's got his whole list of contest results that he had with that airplane. It's all, he did it with Letraset, and it's on there. But I'm gonna have to clear that off and paint over it because there's just I can't get away from it. I mentioned that to Jimby at the Golden State contest, and he said, "Oh, no problem. Send me some pictures. I'll make you a file for a decal." Oh, so cool. He did. But, Uncle Jimby is kind of picky. And you noticed that, huh, Howard? Yeah, he's really picky. I sent a picture. He says, there's a little parallel X in this photo. Bend the camera over a little bit and do it on. And he finally got it right. Then he sends a file to me, and it's like, okay, scale factor of 1.02, 1.01, 1, 1.99, 0.98. He says, which one fits the best? Anyway, so we're going to have a decal to replace that, and that'll go on there, and that'll still be there. So yeah, I'm anxious to get that done and get it flying. I want to fly it and have him see it fly again one more time before he's gone.
Right.
He doesn't get out of the house much. He just sits around and watches TV, and he just I don't have the energy to do anything. So I'm just, he's just killing time, you know?
How old
So,
is he?
Oh, I know, 85, 86 now.
Oh,
Almost
wow.
almost as old as Howard, almost.
Well,
Wow, that is old.
Howard.
So yeah, we'll see. I scored a big hit today. I went down to our in between hammering nails. Last week I went down to the local hobby shop and they had some Pactra filler in those 3-ounce jars.
Wow.
And one of the guys there, he talked me into buying one to try it. So I took it home, and you know, it's half full of filler, and it's like a rock in there. You turn it over and it doesn't move, you know, and you shake it, and well, okay, it kind of comes loose, but it's still anyway. I shook it and I stirred it, and I finally got it all loose. I tried it on the Joe's airplane. It's compatible with the Aero Gloss that's on there. It's compatible with the Randolph stuff. So he had 20 bottles of that stuff down there. And you go down there and see 20 bottles of it. That's the stuff you used to buy for what, 69 cents or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. On the bottle, they wrote $9.99 for a bottle of that. I said, you know what? I really liked the Brodak primer, but they don't make that anymore. They don't have it. This stuff works almost like that. So I went down there today and I pulled it out and I said, you know, this says $9.99 on here. I said, you got 20 bottles over here. What are you going to charge me if I buy all 20 bottles? He thinks about it. He says, how about $5? Said, nice. Okay, sounds like a deal. So I bought 20 bottles of it. So I got enough to make a quart almost of filler primer. Oh. But I never, you know, it's like gasoline or diesel fuel. Not this year, but last year we took a trip, came across Nebraska, and there was diesel gas for $4.62 or something. I went in there and I told the lieutenant, I said, man, I never thought I'd be happy to buy $4.62 diesel, because when I left it was $6, and it's like the same thing. I'm buying $5 a 3-ounce container of that. I never thought I'd be happy to pay $5 for that. Seeing that I don't have any options, it felt okay.
Good.
Anyway, we didn't come here to talk about that.
That's fine. I appreciate what you're talking about, Paul. Appreciate it very much. Hey, Jonathan Carradas, did you able to?
Well, I can't. I don't know why, but I can't find how to share. The share button won't come up. I can't get that array of buttons along the bottom.
Yeah, so you move the cursor. Move the cursor down toward the bottom, and they should pop up. But they're not.
No.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
If I no, it's not even bringing that up now.
And maybe even try and toggling your Alt and your Tab key. Maybe that might be of some benefit. I don't know.
I think I tried that before.
But just keep trying, and then
yeah, if it comes up, it comes up. If
okay,
not,
if it comes up, you can go and just do it in the middle of someone talking. That's all right.
Yeah, I apologize in advance. Okay, I'll just keep fiddling around.
I haven't gotten to Brendan and Angstrom, and then John Miller, and then we'll go into the trim chart, the trim flow chart article that Paul Walker wrote. So Brendan and Angstrom. Oh yes, Mike.
I gotta go now, so I just want to say goodbye. And
all right, hey, thanks for coming in, Mike. I appreciate it. And
all right, and thanks. And Mark, I'll see you Sunday, I guess.
Okay, that sounds good.
Great.
All right.
Everybody, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks sharing the pictures of your Hawker Hunter. I appreciate it.
Yeah, now that I know how to do it. And Charles, anytime you need, if you're going to go ahead with that project and you need any, tips, I'm here for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think it'd be much easier. I'm going to build it with the intention of it being electric as opposed to converting an IC to electric. You know what I mean?
That will definitely make it easier.
Right. So
but if I were you, I'd pick something else.
All right, Charles, I got to say
All right.
goodbye too.
All right. Thanks, Steve, for coming in. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
And then let me let Mark Wise. And Mark, hold the plane there. I'll go and share it, make you big, so you can. That way the plane does not get damaged.
It is. I'll just show all these real quick. This is what I picked up from the lady. It has a motor in it. I've never heard of this, but I swear it says Hope, Hope.
It's a Japanese engine.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So it's some kind of old-time stunt airplane. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Wow, interesting plane.
But a Chief or one of the Vico line, maybe a Squaw or a Warrior or something.
And this one, Dennis Adaminson covered for me.
Oh, Super Ringmaster, isn't it?
Yeah, that was one of my better efforts, Mark. Thanks for saving that.
And I think that I think it's a torpedo. I don't think it's a Johnson.
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a can-be. Yeah.
Greenhead.
Yeah.
Wow, torpedo.
Yeah.
With the stack coming up, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
The helper.
I hate it because I get blisters on my thumb trying to adjust the needle valve.
And then he was scratch building this, which is pretty nice. It's got an OS in it. I'm not sure what size. I'm thinking maybe a 40.
Ah.
And he put some kind of a plastic top on it.
I think that's the Sig Mustang, isn't
very
it?
good flyer. So this probably doesn't need a lot. The motor's in it. Yeah. And looks pretty straight.
Yeah, it does.
And I'll just show you real quick the kids. Actually, one of them is not a kid. But I know all of you are familiar with this. And that's the Top Flight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Flight Streak.
Yeah.
I wish you lived closer. Delaware is pretty far from Escondido, California.
Oh, I see. All right, and then for you collectors out there, this came out, but
oh,
wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Simpson. Nope.
Built one of those many moons ago.
Yep.
Interesting.
That's a metal spun cow.
Yeah, they're pretty.
And then some people call me this, but
Bad.
Yeah.
Not the people that know you, Mark.
Yeah.
That is a cool looking plane.
And this is, I guess, probably the best one of all. It's an old Sterling Models.
Skylark.
Oh, wow.
Skylark.
Whoa.
I have one of those. That's nice.
Yeah.
I think Paul might be all over that one. But anyhow.
There you go.
Yeah. I built one from a kit just like that.
Is that right?
Well, that's it. Well, you even used, way I
And a
understand
VSC,
it,
didn't you?
It's painted just
you
like that
made
red
it all
one.
authentic too. So
Oh,
Yeah.
it was.
So the price was right since I didn't pay for any of them.
Very nice.
So I just
I
going to get
built one of those and went to visit Ed Southwick when he lived in California. And he had those two airplanes in front of the fireplace with little tiny square pads for the wheels to sit on. And he had a little dog that was jumping over the fuselage, and I was having a heart attack. And he said, "It's okay, Gordy. He won't jump on him."
So that's what I got.
Wow. Very
good stuff.
What about that Johnson? Mark, look and see what that Johnson was.
Might open up and say, "Hey, thanks for telling him how it flew."
What happened to him?
Jonathan's sharing an image.
Oh, there we go.
Very good, Jonathan. You did it.
Crap.
Don't ask me what the hell I did to get it there.
You did
Can you
good.
see that?
Sure
Yeah.
can.
Yeah,
we see it.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, that was taken from some distance as my phone was running out of power. I had it on video, and for some reason, it just took a couple of snapshots. And that was one of them, and I just blew it up. Now, see if I can pull up some others. Hang on, now this is going to be... I had this rolling on a... Okay. Can't seem to pull the other ones up.
You can try the your arrow key on your keyboard. That right arrow.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That might advance it a little
Oh,
bit.
right. There we go. Oh, God.
Oh, wow. Hey, you've done a good job on that repair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hang on. I'm going through all the other junk again. Hang on. There we go. I'll make this a bit bigger. If I can. That's me putting the wing on. How do I make this bigger? Bigger.
You're already at 100%. You probably can't do better than that. I don't know. Maybe you can that magnifying glass with the plus. If you touch that, maybe it might.
Yeah, well, the magnifying glass ain't here. It's gone. Yeah, all the controls seem to go all haywire. They're not.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm glad you're sharing the image. So you're putting the wing in. Was it held on with rubber
There we
band,
go.
or do you use
There we go.
screws? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, well, what I'm doing there is, sorry, it's a bit blurry. I'm putting there's two screws there that go in and they lock into lugs that are inside the side of the fuselage. And then the two screws, I have a tie wire between them so they can't undo. And I've got pegs at the front of the wing that go into the firewall where the undercarriage is. I put the undercarriage on this one on the fuselage, but on the Hurricane it'll be, more semi-scale on the wing. So that's that one. I'll see if I can.
So just the wing is removable on that plane?
Pardon?
Just the wing is removable on that plane? Just the wing only?
Yeah, the tail stays on. Yeah.
All right.
Tail stays there. I'll see if I can get
Very smart though, using the safety wire to keep them from coming undone.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that you don't want to be tempting fate,
Yeah,
right.
There's always let's see. Sorry about this, guys. I really don't know what the hell I'm doing here. Look,
you're doing all right. Doing all right.
Look at that.
That's me a few years. Oh God, get rid of that. That's
That's a good picture of you, John.
I'm trying to get the picture across. There.
Oh, look at that. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Is that your drawing, John? Is that your drawing?
That was a drawing. Well, that was down the road. There was a big factory went up right across the road from some houses, and I was the chairman of the local ratepayers.
There you go.
Chairman of the local ratepayers association, and we put it into the newspaper that the next building could in fact be even higher and make it worse. So anyway, the architect got fired and things got changed, which was quite interesting. Anyway, there's the Spitfire there when I was about to put the engine in it. There she is when she landed.
Nice.
Very nice. I like that.
The cockpit's a bit weird. I think I told you the story. It was during COVID, and I just about lost the will to live at that stage because trying to get hold of some things here was just hopeless. So I used what I had and built it up on a bit of a platform to try and make it look a bit more scale. But the front of it's a bit weird. It's rounded. And the tail is one of the, very, very late model Spitfires, really, with that bit of a curve in it there. It's more like a Tempest tail, but they did do one. Yeah, they did one towards the end that had that little bit of a curve there. And what else was there? There was I was going to show you something else, but anyway, that'll do for now. Anyway, I think I've kind of figured out what happened. So next time I won't make you suffer quite so badly. I know I say that.
It's not easy. Okay, so let me see here. We just going to get to Brendan and Angstrom, and then we will talk about the second criteria of the article. Hey, Brendan and Angstrom, how you guys doing?
Doing good. We're rehabbing a Buster here. We picked this up at Brodex last year. Peter, what's his last name? Klosky? Yeah. Peter Klosky showed up with a whole bunch of planes, and Angstrom foamed at the mouth over all of them. So
good.
Yeah, we took about 10 planes home, but yeah, we got this Buster. We're rehabbing it for doing some racing. That's the eventual goal with it. But if you remember, we were putting together some racing planes out of the Coroplast political signs. We finally got one of those up to practice with, and how'd that fly, Angstrom?
Flew really bad. It was terrible.
I was expecting you to say it flew really good, but you said no, it flew really bad.
No,
it was bad.
It was bad. He was holding on for dear life, and after breaking 3 props on it on 3 flights, we just said, "Yeah, this thing isn't going to work." So we've got a couple of rugged stunt trainers that we originally, kind of originally learned on, and so those at least will fly relatively flat to give us some practice at racing and passing. That's the main thing. We're just trying to figure out how to execute the passing maneuvers and whatnot before we get a balsa built plane out there. We don't want to turn it into a bag of balsa immediately on our first go at trying to figure out racing.
Yeah, very good idea. Good idea. I had a Buster when I was a kid, but mine, I didn't know anything about trim back then. I didn't like how it flew, and in hindsight, it probably was just tail heavy, but I didn't know any better. But I remember building a Buster that it was monocoated blue, sky blue, and I just after flying it, I just didn't like it. So I just thought if I flew my Magician, which I had built prior to that, and never really revisited the. I don't even know what happened to that plane. I don't know if I even threw it away. I didn't like how it flew.
See, if it didn't fly well in terms of doing maneuvers, hey, just turn it into a racing plane. As long as it flies, fairly straight and it can barely move up or down, for passing purposes, then you're fine. You don't have to stun it.
Yeah, I was just so spoiled with my Magician. I really loved how my Magician flew.
Yeah.
So,
another thing I've run into, like I told you all, I have done some flying, and one thing that I ran into was that when I got inverted, I think that I don't know if it was just a little bit of over concentration or scared or what, but I think I started moving slower with turning than when I'm upright. And so what I then feel like I noticed was that the plane would constantly be inverted in kind of a mid range. And it was almost hard for me to turn fast enough to keep up with the plane to be able to actually bring it down to level flight. And so now that I've actually spent a lot more time getting inverted, I think my feet are finally catching up to spinning at an appropriate speed to keep up with the plane. But I feel like originally I was just turning too slow, and I don't know if that was just putting too much, changing the dynamics of the plane and how it operated. I assume it would if I'm being a little slow behind it, but it was really hard for me to get it toward more of a level range because I think I was just turning too slow.
Are you sure the plane wasn't faster inverted than it was upright?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's electric if that's what you're getting at. If you're
I'm sorry. It's electric. No,
yeah.
It's the same speed. You're just moving slower.
Yeah, I don't know. I started to notice I think I was just turning too slow for it, and it was getting out pretty far ahead of me. And I think that again would change the dynamics of the handle and how it's operating and stuff. But I finally feel like my feet are turning fast enough when I'm inverted that I'm getting better. I'm getting lower and lower.
Good.
On this, so.
Good. Good.
Can I say something there, Charles?
Yes, go ahead.
When you're flying inverted and you're behind the airplane wants to hunt.
Okay.
And you should be leading the airplane when you're inverted.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I get you.
Okay.
Very good.
All right.
And
one thing you might be able to do, I have a similar problem now just with balance in general, but if you practice, I stand up in the swimming pool and get into about waist depth water, and I go round and round and round and try and get my balance, practice my balance that way. And if I fall over, it doesn't matter. And if you go the other way, you go anti-clockwise,
right.
Try both ways. Stick your thumb out in front of you and concentrate on that, and turn every 5 seconds. Like where I swim, there's a clock on the wall, so I can actually turn every 5 seconds. And I'm finding that's actually improving my balance again. I'm getting better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when you switch direction, and you're going in the inverted,
right,
to stay ahead of the plane. Like just that Gordon mentioned.
Yeah.
But that might help. You can practice in the lounge and then fall over and make a fool of yourself on the couch.
Right. Yeah, I've actually noticed that I feel like I'm still getting a little dizzy when I'm going inverted, and I stay inverted for a while. So
yeah.
I think it's just a matter of just keep going at it, keep getting inverted, and I mean, obviously everybody starts upright to begin with, and inverted comes later. So I think for me, it's just a matter of getting my legs under me. And even the other day, I had 6 batteries. I run about 3 minutes on the little plane I got, but I had 6 batteries. And after about 3 batteries, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know about stunning anymore. I'm kind of, feeling a little tired on it. And I got a couple other batteries up just to just flip it over inverted and just go through the motions of just keeping it inverted and working myself that way. It wasn't stunning, but just trying to, get used to that process and staying upside down and going at things from a different way.
Well, I appreciate that, Brandon, because I know we have some people in our audience who can't fly inverted or maybe struggling doing that. So I'm sure this is encouragement for them to hear that, someone else is struggling with it as well. So, and you guys, I want to get into our subject because I invited Paul to come in and I want to get to it. And I see you, Tryon. And I can get back to you, Tryon. Okay, I just want to get going with the trim article. So we have the gentleman Paul Walker here who actually wrote the article. I put the article in the forum, in the Stunthangar forum. I opened up a topic and the flyinglines.org article is right there. So if you want to click on that, if you're watching this, maybe on another computer, you can see what we're talking about. And since we have Paul here, Paul, do you want to tell us a little bit about the trim article?
The trim, which trim article are you?
Yeah, the one that
there's
in
been
Stunt News.
3 versions of it. The one that was in Stunt News is the most comprehensive one, and I don't know if that's the one that you have or not.
I believe it is. It was reposted on flyinglines.org. I posted that a link to that, but I'm thinking about that trim chart. I can share it with you what I have here. Let me see if I can share this, and you can see if this is the current one.
Yep, that's it.
You guys see it?
Almost it.
You guys see it?
Yeah.
No, we see there's a car.
Okay, because I can't see it. My share screen works different than your guys. It's strange. Let me I gotta bring this thing over here. Oh, you guys are funny. That was pretty good. Let me see. Let me bring this over here, and I should be able to share it now. Let me get rid of this. Just give me a second here. Okay, now I should be able to share this. So I have 3 monitors, and I have to bring it in my center monitor to share it. So, okay, just give me a second here, and I'll have it up. Okay, Zoom. There we go here. So you see, Jonathan, I have troubles too, and I'm the host. There we go. Now you guys see it, right?
Yep.
So this is the trim article or the trim flow chart we're talking about, Paul. Unless you want to talk about another one, that'd be fine with me.
Yeah. Talk about what is it you want to talk about? I mean,
well, let's go through the. We went through the first criteria of level wings. If you want, you can back up and start there at the beginning, and just kind of bring us up to. We're going to talk about the pitch sensitivity tonight.
Yeah, this whole thing was put together to try and make some semi-logical path that's will get you in the ballpark fairly quickly. And the first step was, you get your wings level. It's really important to get the wings level. And then you talk about pitch sensitivity. This is like you're flying a relatively new airplane. And so you take off and you're flying around. Wow, the wings are at level, but boy, it's really jumpy and whatnot. Is it, you got to make it controllable so that you can move on and get to a little more finesse in what you're looking for. So the wings got to be level, and you've talked about that. Yeah, it says, basically it says adjust flaps. Well, that's a way to do it. It depends on your airplane. You can go in and also, adjust the wing so that if you find there's a slight warp in the wing, you can adjust, put some heat to it or steam or whatever, and bring the wing in straight so that you don't have to move the flaps. But however, if you've got a foam wing or a carbon wing or something, you really can't do that. So, step one is just to get it level. And so, yeah, it's level upright. And when you turn it upside down, is it still level? And so you have to get that right balance, the same. So it's got to sit the same way, both upright. Now, it may be that it's rolled out a little bit both ways, and then you'll adjust on that later. But it gets you so that they're the same. And then you got to get the pitch, and the first point is here, is the CG in the right place? Is it really nose heavy and you can't do anything, or is it way too far back and it's too sensitive? You need to move the CG, and obviously with some of us with electrics, it's easier to move the battery and adjust the CG. There's a few people out there that have a battery compartment that the battery can't move in. That makes it a more difficult thing to adjust. But so you can move your battery to adjust the CG and get it so that it's fairly well balanced for the condition that everything is in. And it may be that your handle spacing is too big, or it goes on. There's a number of things. It could be the flap elevator ratios are not right to make it too quick or too slow. But you got to get it in the ballpark to start off with. So that's really what this step is about, is to getting it so that the plane is fairly manageable and you can maneuver it without worrying about what it's going to do. So really, there's not too much at this point, because you'll notice farther down, there is another thing about pitch sensitivity and getting into a much more of a finesse adjustment on that. So this basically at this point is just getting it in the ballpark so that you can maneuver it and maneuver it within, reasonable size. You don't have to get it all, down to a loop at 45 degrees. It could be a little bigger at this point, but it's such that you can maneuver it. You can start to look and see other aspects of it. And the next one that would be the biggest impact is does the wing hinge? If you push it in a corner, what happens to the wing? Does it roll towards you or does it roll away from you? And so kind of that rolling in a corner is what we call hinging. So if it's dropping a tip both ways, well, then you can take some tip weight out. If it's kind of coming in at you, you can add some tip weight. And sometimes, if it's not really bad, moving the lead outs will change it as well. So you start to get to this point where one change, affects other things as well. And so, yeah, you can hear, like it says lead out, you can move the lead outs forward and it'll stop the hinging a little bit. Now, were the lead outs in the right place in the first, were they in the correct position when you started this or not? Don't know. The sad thing is, you go through this whole thing over and over, and I end up changing these things unfortunately all too often. And I find myself, if I don't fly for a while and I go back and say, wow, it feels a little more tail heavy than I remember, or or gee, it's more nose heavy. What should I do? And oh, gee whiz, it's doing this or that. Let me change this little thing here to make it better. And it seems like you're always changing it. Unfortunately. So pitch sensitivity up on the top, that's number 2. That's just to get it in the ballpark, and then hinging, get it so that it's not wildly throwing a tip one way or the other. If it's doing that, you're not going to feel a lot of these other things below it. It has to be pretty close before you can start adjusting all these other things that are of still importance. And you sneak on down, equal line tension all around. Well, sometimes that's a pretty hard guy to wrestle down and get it all the same. Equal line tension. You're likely never to have the same line tension in the top of an overhead 8 as you are in level flight, but you'd like it to be as close as possible.
Right.
And there are ways to adjust and do that. It says adjust lead outs, tip weight, engine offset, rudder, et cetera, et cetera. And this was all before we even did any of the turbulator strips or vortex generators or all that other flap and elevator doodads. This is all that kind of impacts some of this too. So yeah, there's so many things. I don't know what kind of detail you want to go into, but
I as much as you can give us. We have the author.
Well,
we have the author here. This is great.
Line tension. A lot of times on line tension, you say, "Wow, I got great line tension up to about 45 degrees, and then it goes away." And or I come up to the overhead and boy, it's just not driving up there. And it can be as simple as moving the lead outs and generally to get the attention, it's finding the right location for the lead outs, more so than the tip weight, the engine offset, rudder. Yes, these things do have some impact on it. Again, this chart was written a number of years ago, and this is even before I was running which I don't do anymore, is the reverse pitch props. You can put one of those on your electric, and you can find out that driving up in the top of the vertical 8 hourglass, it's got a little more drive up there. But you don't need the reverse pitch prop to do that. You can just get things adjusted right, and it drives just fine. I tried to write this in enough general terms and not get too specifics, but equal tension with an electric, you have a lot more control over that than you do with a gas engine. I guess with a tuned pipe, you can start shortening the pipe and getting a little more drive in the top and help your line tension up there. But that creates other problems when it's coming on and not breaking. But so you can adjust these Igor timers to do that for you, give you a lot more stuff. Now, if there's electric guys out there interested, you got to buy that new timer as soon as it comes out. It is a quantum jump in what the capability of it is, and it works infinitely better than the old one. And so this.
Any idea when it's going to be available?
What's that?
Any idea when it will be available?
Igor indicated that it's likely to be early in 24, January, February sometime. He was trying to finalize all his software. We had worked together on it this year we've added a function that he didn't ever really want to put in it. And once he put it in and tried it, he said, "Oh, I see why you liked it." So, but he's trying to clean up all the code in it. He just cobbled it together so that we could test it, but he wants to clean it up. So he's in the process of doing that. Then he'll send it out to get all his parts made. So once it's there, that is the way to go. There's nothing of its equivalence anywhere. So the other thing I wanted to mention here is, like, you're down to criterion for equal line tension. You'll notice that you do these adjustments, but all those changes will feed back to various places, like, okay, are the wings still level? Did you had tip weight? Did you do this? And the rudder offset, engine offset, did that change your wing level? And yeah, you've got to go back and assess that and make sure that didn't change. Generally, these things don't affect the wing level, but it's happened. So it feeds all the way back up there just as a quick check. And then you can go down. Okay, so I changed my lead outs or my tip weight. Did it affect the pitch sensitivity? Okay, well, maybe it did. So let me add some nose weight or tail weight or whatever, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you added tip weight to make your line tension better, does it affect your hinging? Did it change that? So now, yeah, you may have line tension everywhere, but now it's dropping a tip in corners. Okay, well, that becomes a little problem of which, what do you want to compromise there? But you just keep working at it and trying things, and you can find a combination that sometimes, a lot of the times, will solve both of those. You can get a satisfactory result for both of those. And then it can take a long time. I can't say that this is, in 20 flights, you can get this all taken care of. I don't think I've got an airplane ready for serious competition until it's got a couple hundred flights on it of lots of this chart, going through and changing this and checking this and adjusting and doing it. The more I do this, the more I realize you have to go through this. And I hear all these people say, well, it flew right off the bench. Well, you know what? They're wrong.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it. Yeah. Okay. Maybe a Yachinko carbon thing made in all those molds, they all fly the same, but they still test fly them before they send them out, just in case, And so, so you just got to feed through it. And then if you get to the point where it's got nice line tension everywhere, it's not hinging, et cetera, what about the rate of your corners? Are the corners all the same? Or is your inside corner the same as your outside corner? And right away you say, whoa. If it's not turning the same inside as outside, then there's some other adjustment. Usually it's your elevator to flap neutral settings. Something needs a little adjusting there. So you can adjust that, but it won't affect necessarily your line tension all around, your hinging, but it'll tend to make those two the same. But what happens then is sometimes you'll get it, it'll track just fine, but it won't turn the same both ways, and you adjust it to get the turn the same, and then it doesn't track the same both ways. And again, it's a lot of more fiddling and adjusting until you can kind of get it to that point. Right. And so I'm trying to think who I was talking to recently. Somebody says, well, I think it was Doug Moon. The plane tracks great, but when I changed the handle, the corners got different. And I said, well, there's obviously something different in your handle and the way where the lead outs are connected, or the lines are connected to the handle in relation to where your hand pivots between those two handles. Because he said all of a sudden they will do it was tight, big insides and tight outsides, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. But it still tracks the same. But so he tried moving them, but that didn't help. And anyway, but he hadn't adjusted the elevator to flap ratio yet. But he says, well, it worked with the other handle. Well, okay, what do you want? You want to use? He's built one of them little carbon lightweight handles, and he put that on and went. Actually, at the team trials, he flew David's airplane, and he said, "Oh, I like that. I like the way. Oh, I like the handle feel." So he put it on his, and it didn't work on his, but he hasn't spent any time adjusting to it yet. So getting it to turn and track the same is
It's difficult to do sometimes.
Yeah, Paul, I
end up. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Paul. I was just going to say you're talking about going through it and everything. The first thing when I first saw the chart, the first thing that hit me between the eyes is this is an iterative process, and you just keep iterating through and everything like that. I've actually coming to the conclusion that I'm going to stop trimming my airplane, any particular airplane, probably just about one day before I throw it away. You know what I mean?
There you go.
I mean, and not among everything else, at my age and everything, I'm getting to that point where I think I'm changing, at least on a year-to-year basis. It's like things I could do a year ago, maybe I can't do them quite the same anymore or something like it. Maybe there's some of that in there. But I think the lesson in here is don't be afraid to just keep tweaking, and you think it's a little off. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but maybe you just be bold about going through this and keep coming back to it. So,
well, you just got to go through it and keep in mind, like you say, it's an iterative and it'll change things, and just keep working your way through it. And so, yeah.
Hey, Paul.
Yes.
I think you said that you're pretty good, that you can see basically what your plane is doing.
Yeah. Okay. That I was getting to that, but
okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's not so, you've got to learn a few things. And one of the things you have to do is to learn to watch your airplane and what it does in basically all three of these axes that it can move in. It can move in roll, pitch, and yaw. And you've got to be able to see that when it's flying. If you can't see what it's doing, then it's really hard to come back to this chart and say, well, is it hinging? Is it yawing? Yet I hear so many people saying, I can't tell what it's doing. It's just not right, but I can't tell. And I've learned to somehow look down the lines and project that line through the airplane so that when it yaws, you can see that it's moving away from that parallelness with that line, or when it's hinging, you can see that it drops down. Obviously, we can see pitch. That's pretty easy. But the yaw and the roll for some people is really hard to see. But you've got to find a way to see that. Without seeing that, it's going to be really hard to work through this. You look at it and you say, "Oh, gee, today," like Dennis says, I haven't flown this airplane since last year. I bring it out. Well, today it's yawing. Why is it yawing today when it was working perfectly fine the other day? And well, the density of the air changes all the time, and that can affect these things. So this is all very good. And then you say, well, I got it set perfect. And then you go somewhere else and there's a high pressure in, and you drop the altitude, and all of a sudden the air's thicker and it doesn't do some of these things right. That's the life of these things. It does happen. When you get them adjusted just really right, and you can change, the density of the air, boom, you can feel it, it. It's like flying you go to a contest, you go out in the morning, I'm going to fly, I want to put a practice flight in the morning, and it's 50 degrees out. And when it comes time for your flight, it's 80 degrees. Well, that practice flight was a waste. It isn't the same. It isn't the same. So, yeah. So just like Dennis said, you just gotta work your way through it, but you gotta learn to see that airplane, and but you have to be careful doing it. Because I was doing this in 2019. I was having trouble with the wing over. I came over the top and I had a little kink in the top. So I had a dream. I got it. I'm going to watch the lines as it goes over the top. And I want to see what it's doing. And I watched it all the way down to about here. And I went, oh my gosh, I got to pull out. And it whacked the tail off. It busted the tail off. And then it, boom, hit the nose, broke the nose off. And this was, 6 days before the Nats.
Oh, no.
And so I said, all right, I'll go get the old Predator out. I went to fly it. No, it's not the same. So I'm going to go fix it. I looked at it and I said, I can fix it. So the paint was gassing off as I'm driving over there, you know, but I'd flown it a couple of times to verify that it worked. But, you know, I've flown a lot and I still managed to fly that sucker almost right into the ground, watching the lines in the airplane to see what it was doing. So you got to be careful. So when you're watching your stuff, good luck. You got to learn to do it. I don't know how to tell you how to do that. But my only plan, you know, was I look out the lines and try to project that line through the airplane and see what the airplane does relative to what that projected line is. I don't know. You got any ideas, Howard? What do you do?
Well, no, but I was going to ask you a question, which is when elevator bias isn't right relative to the flaps, what does it feel like? Can you describe how the airplane feels when it's turning asymmetrically?
When it's turning asymmetrical, yeah. You'll like, what you'll find is, I like one of them. One of them feels really good, and the other is too slow or it's too quick, and you can't find your bottoms on the one that you like. Your bottoms are right. The ones that you don't like, you're going to be low or high or whatever. And it's like, wow, it's a perfect airplane over here, and it's a foreign entity over here. I can't get the bottoms right, and so whenever I struggle with bottoms being inconsistent, I know something's amiss with that elevator adjustment. They've got to be the same. And you know, I was going to say earlier, turning and tracking the same. And one way you can get the turn the same is to get the elevator, you know, maybe it's got to have a little down rig in it to make them be the same. But sometimes what that'll do is that'll make your level flight and the tail will sit a little low one way. And it'll look like it's right going the other way.
Right.
I see that. I watch everybody fly at the Nats. I see that so much. But sometimes you have to do that. It's, you know, I prefer it to be even, exactly the same both ways. And I found now with using all the inline stuff, that's much easier to accomplish. And so, yeah. Yeah, so some of these are obviously a compromise. You can't, very difficult to get everything exactly perfect. So it's just cycling through it, and you can see, oh, I can't move this thing, but you can see there's a lot of, as you move farther down the chart, there's so many things that
I can move it.
Yeah, that's good. You can see, you know, like pitch sensitivity, number 6, adjust nose weight, elevator flap ratio, prop size, handle line spacing. And, you know, even now I learn more. It's like the overhang on the handle you should include on this as well. Overhang on the handle will change that. And it goes on. You move down one farther, quality of turn. That's different than the rate, you know, the how quick it'll turn. Is it a good corner? Does it turn and stop, or does it just kind of fly through and find its way? That one's a little harder to try and describe, but there's prop size, tip weight, elevator flapper, lead out, all of these things affect this. And it's finding, so it's, as you come down the chart farther and farther down, it's the changes are getting more and more finite, much smaller, little changes here, little changes there. Nonetheless, you can still feel them. Once you get down there, you can feel all those things. And so this is just my thoughts on how to do this. This all came about in 1982. 82 is when I first came up with this. I had built a new plane for 82, nice light plane, flew really good, and I had, you know, standard bar handle with the cable in it. I was out flying on the asphalt one day, boom, that cable snaps and it's going do little loops, they're getting closer and closer. Of course, there's all these light poles around. I thought, well, I'll just, every time it gets near the bottom, I'll step into it a little bit and see if I can just pancake it in, and then I realized, oh, I'm getting really close to that light pole there. Anyway, well, I didn't get to the light pole anyway. It went boom, busted it up. So I had to go back to an older, heavier airplane. And it forced me to learn all this because I flew it and I said, it's not right, but this is all I have. This is all I have to work with. And I got to make this right. And so this is when I had done, I went through this in my head. I was going through this and I said, yeah, this is what needs to happen. I decided I better write some of this down. And so that's what got this started. And this chart and text that goes with it's evolved over the years. But
what?
What's that?
That was Mary Lou, I think. She was talking to Howard.
Oh,
sorry.
It's okay.
That's not a problem. So it's, if you got specific questions, feel free.
Anybody?
Yeah.
You got the author and finisher here of trim. Anybody in the chat? You can type in your question in the chat box. I'll read it, and Paul can hear it. Maybe he can respond to that. I'll get rid of this. I'll stop.
Paul, how important is it to change one thing at a time?
Very important. Very important, because if you change two things at a time, which change affected what happened?
Especially if it got worse.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, if it got worse, that's really a problem.
Especially if it got worse. Yeah. Which one was it? No, it's difficult, and it's like 99% of the time I'll only change one thing at a time. But sometimes when I'm in a pinch, I'll change two things maybe. But this is after decades of experience with these things.
One more question, and then I'll shut up and let the others in.
No problem.
Is there any such thing as a perfect airplane built and flown off the table from a table trim?
Never seen one.
No.
I mean, Orestes has a shark. He has a Yachinko shark, and he changed it. Okay. Yeah. And he changed it, and then had Yuri or Andre fly it. And they said, "Oh my God, what did you do to this thing? It's terrible." And he goes, "No, I just won the world championships with it. What are you talking about?" So yeah, the other thing you got to understand is everybody's different. The mechanics of how your hand and arms work and all that is everybody's different. And so what setup I have, somebody else will fly, take it and fly it and say, "Well, that's not. It turns tighter this way than inside and outside." But
so many moving parts.
Yeah, it's not
so many moving parts. That's what makes it easy.
Different, and their muscles and everything. It's difficult to get a whole number of people to fly that one airplane and say, "Oh, that's perfect," because everybody says, "No, I don't like this and I don't like that." Well, that's what this is all about. You make your airplane, which is right for you. What makes you happy? Yes, sir.
The good guys make it look easy.
I would somewhat disagree with that. I'd say you make your airplane so it looks right to Paul. I can describe what a well-trimmed airplane feels like. I flew one of Mr. Walker's airplanes one time. It was an impact powered by a PA-65, and it was it looked phony because you could see the side view of the fuselage, and that's all you ever saw. You never saw any trace of wing. It was all just the side view of the fuselage, and it flew like a trainer. It was very easy to fly. You'd give it a control input, and the pitch rate was proportional to the control input you gave it. it looked completely phony. It was like a bad simulation, a crude simulation.
Wasn't that the for reals you flew with the 40 VF in it?
No,
What
that
plane- was it the red and yellow and black one?
it was it had a PA-65. This was long ago down at
Wow,
down at
I've never had a PA-65.
PA, well, plus or minus 4. Yeah,
Rojet.
PA-61 maybe.
No, I've got Rojets. I have a PA-61, but I didn't use it very long.
Well, that's when I operated it.
Hmm.
And it
the only thing that was in that red, yellow, and black and white checkerboard one.
Could be.
That was the light one. Yeah. Yeah. That airplane flew okay.
Yeah, but I've flown others, and they were just absurdly easy to fly, is my observation.
Hey, Paul,
you're getting there.
You talk about also something vitally important, and that is how much time you spend building and making sure everything is straight. Otherwise, this process can go on forever and never get a well-trimmed airplane, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, I had this article out, and I got a series of emails from, I can't remember the guy's name, from Slovakia, not Igor, but one of his previous, he was at the World Champs a number of times. I looked it up, and he says, well, you didn't talk about exactly what you just said, is getting the airplane straight, because if you don't get the airplane right, yeah, you got no chance of it really being very good. It'll fly, it'll do stuff. You can do a pattern with it, but it won't be exactly right. So I said, yeah, you're right. That almost needs to be in there, but yes, it's very important. And there's a gentleman I have been working with recently, the last couple of years, and one of those things we've discussed is that basically, and you must build a straight airplane. And he brought one up earlier this year. He says, I have a straight airplane. I said, great. And he sat it down on my bench, and in 3 seconds I said, no, you don't, this is wrong. And he says, no, you're joshing me, you're pulling my leg. I said, no, I built enough impacts over the years, I know that's wrong. And he got the tape measure out and measured, and he went, how did you see that in 3 seconds? But so that wasn't right. And then I looked at it and I said, well, your stab isn't right. What do you mean? He says, I put it in the jig, I measured, I did all these things. I said, I'm sure you did, but right now it's not straight, it's not parallel, and that's affecting the way it flies. I said, you need to build it with a take apart tail on it so that you can adjust it, so you can always adjust it. So there's some advantages to these take aparts, if you will, because you can, if something's not right, you can do that. And like I said, when I did Joe's airplane, the stab was a 1/4 inch off being parallel, tip to tip, a 1/4 inch. I'm sensitive to a 64th of an inch, and it was off a 1/4 inch. And I said, no wonder why it didn't fly. So it's important to get them right. And I tease some people about how long it takes to build airplanes, but they're very careful about making them very straight. And when they're very straight, they usually work pretty well. Correct?
Yeah. Thank you.
Paul, do you remember that modified impact I had years ago? And I talked to you, wouldn't turn outsides. And we discussed the incidents. Yeah. You and Chris Cox and I. And I couldn't get it to turn the outsides. Oh, I'm sorry. It turned blinding outsides and weren't turning inside.
Okay.
And you talked about the incidents in the stab.
Yeah.
I cut it loose and raised the leading edge up.
Okay.
Made a perfect flying airplane for me. It flew wonderful.
Like I said, you can do that with a take apart airplane.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it took me twice to get it right, but
yeah.
the first time I refinished the back end. The second time I said, I'm not going to finish it till I'm sure it's right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
boy, did it make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interject here. Are you done, Gordy?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't have take apart airplanes, and I build these ARFs. So my planes are pretty much, they're subject to inaccuracies and that kind of thing. And when I have a plane that doesn't turn the same inside and out, what I've done is all my planes now that I build, the last three that I put together, I make the push rod between the bell crank and the flap horn. I put a left hand and right hand thread so that I can turn. I can either shorten or lengthen the that push rod that connects the flap to the bell crank, and that's how I correct my asymmetry. If it turns quicker one way, then I'll make that adjustment there. And what I like about that is when I fly the plane through the air, it stays flat. Where when I was relying on the elevator to flap ratio, I was raising the attitude or lowering the attitude to get the plane to turn the same. And it might just be that, you know, my planes aren't straight or what have you, but that's how I fix them. And so every plane, and I'm going to build in the future, I'm going to put a left hand and right hand thread on the push rod between the flap and elevate, excuse me, between the flap and the bell crank. I was wondering, have you ever tried doing that, Paul? Make that push rod adjustable?
Nope. I've never done that.
It actually works. It's I discovered it on my Vector 40 ARF. I just had a aha moment one evening or one day. I'm not sure what it was, but I thought the way it was flying, you know, when you're flying your plane, it's like, at least for me, it takes me a while to just figure out what am I feeling or what am I not feeling. You know, it takes a while, and I felt like it was in the controls, and they weren't symmetrical. So I cut off the canopy and I cut the wood, and I had access to to that push rod, but I had to actually disconnect the ball link to twist it, you know, and all you could do either a half rotation or a full rotation. But after one iteration after the other, I got the plane to turn equal, and then I said, you know, from now on, every plane I build is going to have that ability. But I prefer having a left hand, right hand, so I can just put a wrench and I can just do a much finite adjustment to get it so it's just so it feels right.
Yeah, one needs to do that between the flap control horn and the elevator control horn, the aft push rod.
I have that as well, but when I've done it that way, it tends to fly through the air with an attitude or either up or down.
That the aft push rod length would fix that.
Anyways, I'm just telling you what I've experienced and what's worked for me, and you know, maybe someone can try it, and they might find similar results.
Yeah, there's other ways around that, like just making sure you have symmetrical controls.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it might have been messed up from Jump Street, no doubt about it, but that's the way that I could fix it. Sure. Well, I got some comments in the chat box. Brent Williams says, howdy, guys. And then Stephen Smith, I think this is regarding the new timer, Paul. He says, is it an Igor timer? And what ESC does it work with?
It works with the ESC you get from Igor, spin 66. That's it.
All right. Thank you. And then our next comment is from John Skukalek, who is a member of our YouTube channel. Thank you for your support, John. Appreciate it. He says, for you, is there just one pinpoint lap time, or is there a small range of times that work for you?
No, there's no one set thing. It goes back to what Dennis said earlier. Is sometimes if you haven't flown for a while and you come back and you say, wow, this thing's flying really fast, and then you check it and you go, oh no, it's not. Your perception of what's going on is sometimes skewed as well. So I have found recently, I've noticed that I tend to fly faster earlier in the year when the air is more dense. And when the air thins out, I fly slower. It doesn't seem to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's like clockwork.
It's completely the opposite of what I would expect.
That's exactly what I said. Yes, it's exactly opposite what you'd think. But I start out at the beginning of the year and going, I'm flying my airplane going, geez, why do I have to fly it at 525? I used to fly it at 5.4. I don't understand. And as the year goes on and the air gets, gets hotter and hotter and thinner, and next thing you know, I'm flying 5.4. I can't tell you why. Why is that, Howard?
I don't know. That's an interesting observation.
And it's not just one observation. It's happened year after year after year now, and it's not it's very bizarre. So yeah, the other thing I didn't mention on that flow chart is it says equal tension all around is fly the airplane faster. It didn't say that, but that's a clear option is to go fly the airplane a little faster. Yeah. You've seen my P-47s. They're really nice little airplanes, but if I fly them at 4.8 or 4.9 laps, I got equal line tension everywhere. So, that's an option, but I ended up flying them this year at like 5.25, and it was a lot of fun flying it. That's why I flew it. So, fly it faster, fly it slower. Sometimes you got to go with what is needed in those conditions you're flying in. So there's no one set speed. So whatever makes your airplane fly right.
Paul, how do you decide the line length? When do you decide like it's too short or too long?
Question.
Good question.
Let's see. I'm going to count the number of planes on my hand. Well, in my modern era, I'll call it from 1980 on. The number of planes that I've flown on anything less than 70-foot lines is 1, I think. And that's the P-47. It's flown on like 67.5 instead of 70. That's it. I fly on 70s. It just gives you more room. It gives me more room to do stuff. I know David's got a 75 and all that in his, and he flies on shorter lines. He doesn't fly on full length lines. And you can fly on a little shorter lines. It'll give you a little more line tension, but it doesn't, I feel I have more room to define the shapes of the for instance, the square corners better on longer lines.
Have you flown Dave's airplane?
I'm sorry, Gordon?
Have you flown Dave's airplane?
I've flown his old one. I haven't flown the new one. I've flown his old one, several of his old ones.
Yeah, I have too, and I hate his handle. He's got a small hand. It hurts my hands using his handle.
Yeah, well, he's got one of he noticed, well, he notices a lot of things, and he noticed one year that I was using that little carbon handle, and he picked it up and went, whoa, what is this? Next thing you know, he's gone and built one, and now he uses them. Son of a gun. He says, wow, that really helped. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. And then I put turbulator strips on it, and he noticed those. He started using those. It goes on. Anyway. Yeah, his older handle I didn't like either. I've flown it with the older handle. I don't like that either. But yeah, his hand is not as big as mine either.
Yeah, it had the kind of the cutouts for your fingers and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
It just didn't fit my hand at all, and
makes it hard to fly.
He had me fly one about 5 or 6 times, and I says, "Why do you want me flying this?" He says, "I need somebody to break this motor in." 75 minutes. And talk about pull your arm off. It was like flying my old twin, except it flew better.
Yeah.
So I have another question, Paul.
Yes.
How do you balance between CG position and line spacing?
Well, that takes some time. of adjusting and testing and changing, your CG. I can't say I can give you one good answer to where that is. And like I said earlier, with the lap times over the course of the summer, that tends to change a little bit too. I end up narrowing it down, and I don't fully comprehend it. Early on, when the air's thicker, I'm running it wider, and then as it thins out, I get a little narrower. Am I just getting in better shape at the end of the year, and I can compensate for that? I don't know, but this is something that happens year after year after year. It's not just one time it happened. It happens.
My personal observation, and obviously this is for my my particular design, my particular plane, right?
Yep.
I noticed that the further forward you push the CG, the more line tension you have kind of everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But it takes away from the corner.
Yes, it does.
At the same time, if the plane can corner, then what I was trying to do is I tried to keep pushing it forward as long as I had sufficient corner.
Sure, as long as you had sufficient corner, and you didn't. There's one more part of that puzzle, and is if you want to throw in flap size in relation to the CG handle spacing, and you can change your flaps and change all that as well.
Yeah. So
I built 3 sets of flaps for the last airplane, and I was trying 3 sets of flaps out on it, different widths and thicknesses and whatnot, to see what I liked.
Yeah.
And y'all changed that response.
I don't have that option. However, I did change the travel on the flaps. I would rather keep the flaps the same and reduce the travel versus using a smaller flaps with the same amount of travel. I think it's more efficient aerodynamically, but that's just me.
The plane I've used at the Nats for the last 4 or 5 years has overdriven flaps. The flaps move more than the elevators do, and that's fairly rare. Most people don't do that. But the flaps are moving more on that one. It's because they're fairly small flaps. And if I put a bigger flap on, I got to slow it down. But I didn't like the feel in the corners with the slightly larger flap, which is in contrast to what a Predator is. The Predator's got a much bigger flap, but it'll still corner. And it'll still do rounds. So there's, that one's got that airplane is totally different than a Predator. So I try not to take them both and try and make them the same. They're not the same animal, so I can't really compare them. But
it's the question.
Go ahead.
That was a question I was going to ask you, Paul, and Tran, is when do you draw the line between the flap movement, arc of movement, like 20 degrees, 25 degrees, or whatever, compared to increasing or decreasing the flap in area? And I guess that's part of the puzzle, isn't it?
I think I can put the plane I've used for the last 4 or 5 years, 4 years, I don't know, whatever. I put a bigger flap on it, and I don't like the corner. I cannot make the corner. I cannot recompensate and make it the same corner and yet do better rounds. That was one of the issues I worked hard on that airplane. I could never get a bigger flap to work satisfactorily on that airplane. I had to go with the smaller flap, and then I moved the flap.
Why did you have to go with a smaller flap? When you say you couldn't get it to,
because I didn't like the corners, what was the flap?
Hey?
The bigger flap didn't corner the same.
So was it turning too fast? Was it turning too fast or too slow?
Oh, it was too slow with the bigger flap.
Yep.
It just didn't have the snap at all.
It was mushing out.
It
wasn't mushing.
The shape was the shape of the flap.
Just a larger radius. What's that?
Was the shape of the flap the same between the 2 airplanes?
The two airplanes.
The
Well, two sets of flaps.
Predator and the
No,
aardvark.
no, the aardvark. Anteater, come on, get it anyway. No, they're not the same at all. You would be appalled if you took a Predator flap and laid it over the latest impact flap. The impact flap is way smaller. Way
smaller, but
at the tip. It's about similar at the root, but much smaller at the tip.
Is the cross section the same?
Cross section? You mean
Flap
the flap is a 1/4 inch square. I mean, it's a rectangle, 1/4 inch.
And both of them?
The same. Both of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it true you were like eating? Oh, go ahead.
So
Wasn't
what I
true
want
you
to
were
say, Paul, never mind. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What I ended up using on my plane, Paul, I think I have about 15 degrees flap travel. That's it. And about 25 on the elevator, but that's more than enough than what I need.
Yeah.
It's a beast in the air. I mean, it corners so fast. I had to detune the plane because I couldn't keep up with it mentally. My brain cannot keep up with it.
I understand.
Yeah,
that would do it.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, my flying buddy, Wes, you want to mess with his flaps sometime? So the double slotted arrangement.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. They seem to fly well. I have absolutely no idea how to tune it, if you will, or optimize it or anything like that. But
I looked at that, and that was my concern when I saw it: is how do you adjust anything?
Yeah. Well, there is one of them flying here. One of our buddies here made one of Wes's velvet trees, and he put a simple flap on it, and he thought the airplane flew really well. So the same airplane, he was able to pull the flap off, and he put the double slotted arrangement on it, and it flies very well. He says he senses the only difference he can tell is he thinks the airplane drives through corners better with the double slotted arrangement, which you read the fine print, it's supposed to develop more lift with less drag than a simple flap does. Okay, maybe it's delivering that. I dearly love to, I wish the heck he'd have made it electric. We could have measured some of that stuff, maybe. But the airplane he's flying right now it seems to fly wonderfully and stuff. But I don't even know where to go, to determine whether it's an optimized or even a positive, all the right steps on it and stuff. So,
hey, Paul. It's probably my building or lack of expertise. I find it easier to build a straight wing than a straight flap. And for the flap to stay straight.
Yeah.
So my question is, and I haven't tried this, but there's some old stunt designs that don't have full width flaps.
Full span, you mean?
Full span,
Yeah, right.
Is there any advantage or disadvantage to not having a full wing?
I don't know. I built that Skylark. You were showing the kit, or somebody had a Skylark kit there.
Yep.
I built Skylark right out of that box, basically. And it's got partial span flaps. That airplane flies pretty good, except, it's got a McCoy 40 in it. And there's limitations. It's not super light. And when the wind gets up a little bit, you're done. But it still works okay. I mean, it had a good corner and it still do rounds. I don't know. I built an airplane once that had segmented pieces out on each tip, and that caused me no end of grief, actually, when I didn't drive the whole flap. I was flying with Don McClave, used to be my coach there. And he came up for a contest once, and I was taking a practice flight, and he said, he was always a very positive coach. He would say, "Oh, well, that was good, and you need to, da, 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 da." And I got down, and he's like, "Wow." He was really struggling to say anything positive. He says, "Wow." And then I finally said, well, no, I didn't like that. Something's not right. And he goes, good. I'm glad you said that because something wasn't right. And I said, you know what? Let me go try this. So I disconnected the tabs and taped them basically to the rest of the flap and flew it again. And it was instantly worlds better.
Wow.
And he says, there was no question about it. He says, don't ever undo that. Don't do that again. He says it works so much better. Does it help? I don't know. I've seen partial span flaps work just fine, but
one more quickie. When you're designing airplanes, do you have equal length wing sides? Is your left wing the same size as the right?
Nope.
Okay.
It's like 5/8 of an inch difference.
Okay.
That's exactly what I have in mind.
Yeah.
Well, weren't you saying one time at Golden State when I met you, you like your lead outs more behind the CG, a little bit further back behind it? And I saw Dave does the same thing. He brings his lead outs behind the CG more. You like that, and what's the advantage again?
Behind this, you're talking about our electric airplanes?
Right. Well, I saw it on Dave's airplane that he has now, his new one. He had it pretty far back. Set him on the CG.
What's a good position behind the CG you would put yours? Give me a number, an inch and a half behind the CG is where you put yours?
Roughly.
I want to get some context into this answer so that you understand where they're at. I mean, where do you put yours?
I was always told you use the front lead out equal to the CG.
Okay. My front lead out is at least 3 inches behind the CG. And some of them are between 3 to up to 4 inches behind the CG.
Wow.
It just, this is an electric. And every electric airplane I've had likes that. I don't know why. It just does. And I fiddle farted around this year with the airplanes. I'm going to run them farther forward, and I flew it. Gosh, it's just not right. And then I moved them back, and I said, why am I doing this? I put them back, and there instantly everything was good.
But that was on an electric airplane. What about your nitro planes? When you found that different?
They were usually an inch and a half-ish, inch and a quarter to inch and a half behind the CG.
Behind? Okay, so I can
behind the CG, yeah. They're always behind the CG. Ugh, I can't imagine flying them in front of the CG.
And how did this compare with what Line 3 told you? Or did you?
All those programs say in like an inch and an inch. I remember the number, inch and a quarter, inch and a half behind the CG.
Yeah. I ran Line 3 with several configurations once, and it came up within a 1/16 of an inch of the same, dimension every time, it seemed.
But,
so
never ask you what kind of motor you're running.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought that would be a good reference point for.
You're talking about your front lead out, right? Your front lead out basically about 3 inches behind now.
We're 2.5 to 3 inches behind what that program says.
What that program says, but your front lead out, so you're pretty far back, but 1.5 inches on nitro. Okay, I got room to move
pretty
back.
Far back is an understatement.
What's the difference in feel between that and farther forward?
I'm sorry, what the difference in what?
In the way the airplane feels between the two lead out.
In level flight, you'd hardly notice any difference, but what it makes a difference in all the maneuvers, and more so in the corners. It's I think you made that comment some time ago. It has better damping in the corner. When you turn the corner and stop, it wants to stop better. You put it farther forward, and it's too easy to make a bounce. Or
how about in your verticals in the hourglass over the top?
It helps in most of those. Yes,
it'll pull it up more.
Okay, yeah. It's
Paul. Yep. I must say, Paul, I've got to go and have dinner now.
Thank you.
We're on a different time scale here in New Zealand. And look, I want to say to you, thank you very much you've taught me an enormous amount in the last hour. I'm just
Okay.
ever
Great.
grateful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll be watching the rest later on the record.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks,
Paul.
guys. I'll see you
Good to
next.
see you again,
Thank you,
John.
John. Thanks for coming in.
Okay, guys. See you later.
All right.
Paul, this is my observation when it comes to lead outs. This is what I've noticed for myself. I might be wrong, but what I know is like when the lead outs are too far back, right? Obviously in level flight, you have line tension. Doesn't matter where you put the lead outs, you have line tension or not in level flight. But as you climb up at 45 degrees on the top of the loops, it starts to get loose, and overhead is very, very loose, right?
With the lead outs back?
Yeah, to me.
No,
Yeah.
exact opposite of that. It gets
Yeah,
better.
to me, it felt exactly like that. But as the lead out started to creep forward a little bit at a time, and I started to gain more line tension on the top of the 45, and as I push them forward, keep moving, and I start to get line tension above. But maybe that, and then once I get the tension kind of equal everywhere, right? If I continue going forward, it's still kind of equal everywhere, but it kind of loosens up.
And you're getting a nose to your in and out. If you're doing that, you're getting a nose to your in and out. And that's why you're losing your tension, because moving back is going to make the plane fly out of the circle more, which is going to give it more aft.
He's saying with him back, he has line tension problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you move back, you should get higher tension.
That's what I was asking you. See, my dilemma is that when you have a light plane, and I mean, some heavy nobblers are probably just about as heavy as my 710 square inches plane, right?
How much does it weigh?
58.
So my P-47 is 59. And it responds the same though. As I move the lead outs back, it instantly got better. It's a much different airplane. So I don't know.
Man, I would love to send you my plane and say here. I would love to send you my plane and say here. Trim it.
Hey guys, I'm gonna end the live stream. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. I really appreciate it. This is hopefully a lot of people will watch the show over and over and over again to pick up on the trim chart and have more fun flying their plane. When your plane is in better trim, it's easier to fly and it's funner to fly. So I hope that you will tune in and watch the show over and over, and you can download that article off of flyinglines.org, the trim article. And anyways, thank you very much, Paul, for coming in. I appreciate you coming in. And we're going to end this a live stream. We don't all go away, but some of us do have to go to bed or go to the bathroom or leave.
It's 12:30.
So we're all old enough. We probably have to go.
Anyway. So anyway, thank you very much for tuning in, you guys. Today is Friday. Hopefully you have a chance to this weekend to go do some more flying, work on your shop, work on your airplanes, and then come back Monday and tell us all about it. So until then, fair winds.